everyone. It is my turn to dominate this episode, and to extend to dominate Andres and Frank.
Wait, what?
So better get the leather ready, boys.
You fucking blew it.
I don't remember signing up for this.
It's implied in the contract.
We gave you the keys to the car and you fucking just crashed us, man.
Wait a minute, I wrote that contract!
From the top!
What the hell was I thinking?
It's David's episode, everybody!
Woo! Hold on to your butts.
You have to have a stock sound effect of those kids going like, yeah!
Like it's the fucking Mickey Mouse Clubhouse.
Yeah, but David has presented a really fun topic. David, what is your topic for today?
So this topic is, we'll be discussing unproduced movies or shows, if you have any of those, of what could have been. So,
and I really like this idea. I wish I did a little more research, but I have plenty to talk about based on the things I found.
Oh, yeah. And in fact, like, the idea of unmade media is always such a fun topic because it's always fun to speculate on the what-ifs of the entertainment industry. And so much so that I remember back in the day, you, Adam and Bill, David, had once, like, a section of the ZGZ cast where, what was it called? Like, Lost, Found, and Never Filmed?
Oh. Just triggered some lost memories.
But what was it called? What was that section called?
I think that's what it was called.
Lost, Found, but Never Filmed?
I think so. It sounds really familiar.
I mean, at this point, ZGC itself might as well be Lost, Found, and Never Filmed in certain cases. Yeah. So, all right then. So, I guess, like, would it make sense, David, for us to go in rotation, similar to what we did last time with Kaiju parodies?
Oh wait! Before we continue, we got to give a shout out. Fucking, we've suffered a great loss in our Tokusatsu community recently.
Oh shit! That's right.
We won't dwell on that much, but I feel like we'd be remiss to not say anything about it.
Right, yes. Thank you very much for bringing it up, Frank. So, yes, so unfortunately, the well-regarded, well-renowned actor Kenji Oba, you know, he is best known for his role in Super Sentai in the Metal Hero series. Most especially, he was Battle Kenya in Battle Fever J. He was Denji Blue in Denji Man. But most especially, he was Space Sheriff Gavon from the original 1982 Space Sheriff Gavon. Kenji Oba had unfortunately passed away May 6th, 2026, after a series of health complications that he had been suffering for a decent the last several years of his life, it seemed. But yes, unfortunately, our very first metal hero, our very first Gavon, is no longer with us. And it was definitely a very huge loss for the Tokusatsu community at large.
For sure, it always is. But again, especially when they're a tentpole of the like featured, like archetypes of Tokusatsu media. Like the first Kamen Rider, the first Metal Hero, the first Ultraman, first Godzilla.
Yeah.
So very very much again. Great legacy, will be missed very much. And again, even though we kind of me and David really kind of slightly dunked on the new Goblin series, it's still cool that again his legacy was good enough to inspire more shows and hopefully revitalize just the whole metal hero genre. So shout out to a real one.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I remember there was like a story going around where there was like a tweet made by one of Kenji's children. I believe it might have been his daughter. She had shared online that in the last several years of his life. Oh, this was prior to him passing away, I believe, where he was mostly in I wouldn't say a vegetative state, but a very unresponsive state. But anytime that the subject of Gavon had come up, that would always get a reaction out of him.
Which is nice to hear. That was something he looked upon fondly.
Indeed. So much so that when his children shared with him the news that Gavon was coming back in the form of Gavon Infinity, a smile grew on his face. So I'd like to, at the very least, I never knew Oba, at all in any serious degree. I don't know him personally at all, but part of me likes to think that at the very least he went out with the warm, comforting fact that his legacy still goes on to this very day. Whether it is Gavan Type G, whether it's Space Squad, whether it's Gavan Infinity, he obviously...
Or in a rare case, he was one of the few people of heroes to get featured in a modern Americanized version as Captain Shaku. So shout out to that.
Absolutely.
That was also real cool. So again, legacy was big enough that he was featured as a character, because again, they didn't have to put him in there, but they was like, hey, this guy's fucking cool. Let's feature him as our own guy. So
hey,
shout out to that. So that's tight.
Here's something I didn't know. He had a cameo in Kill Bill. There was a moment where the bride was at a Japanese bar, and he shows up for like a little comedy bit scene. I was like, holy shit, fucking Gavan is in a Tarantino movie.
It's kind of funny because Sonny Chiba's in that same movie too. So these two guys from Gavan are in the same movie too.
Yes, I believe it might. Was it the same scene, David?
I feel like it should have, because I feel like that was like, I think that was like part of Tarantino's, because Tarantino like has like an affection for like a lot of that old Tokusatsu stuff. He doesn't bring it up a bunch, but like in early interviews he does mention a bunch that he like likes that stuff.
Right. And you know what? I will say that at the very least, I'm glad that for children of the 2010s, they were able to experience Kenji Oba's role as Gavan, as Retsu Ichijoji, through through Gokaiger versus Gavan, Space Sheriff Gavan the movie, Gavan versus Deca Ranger, and the various Space Squad crossovers and V Cinema projects out there. So it was really great to see him like one more time. In fact, you knew that for a large generation of fans out there, I'm sure they absolutely lost it when they decided to have Kenji play all three of his roles in Gokaiger versus Gavan, with all of them at the end of the movie deciding, you know what, why not? Let's all transform together since we've never been on screen at the same time.
Well, it's like I think it's I want to say it's in Kamen Rider Decade when the guy like Rider Black and Rider RX tension together.
Yes,
which is weird because like it's not like they're different generations. It's the same guy whose powers just changed.
Yeah, I do love the bit from.
That's the only part I thought was weird, because it's like I don't know. It was just funny where it's like it's not like he's a clone or a different universe version of him. It's him from like 5 days earlier.
But yeah, it's definitely fun to see it like that, and especially in the case of Kenji Oba, where he was playing 3 different characters, they played it off as like, oh hey, you know what? People often told me that I look like you guys. Really? Oh no, I kind of see it. I don't know. But
last but not least, like I said, shout out to a real one. We're gonna put and pin that, but again, I wanted to at least address that before we dive into our topic.
Absolutely.
Sorry for swapping the spotlight off here for a second, David.
Why you always got to bring the bad news here, Frank?
Hey, man, that shit's important, all right? All right.
You're absolutely right. Anyways, here's to you, Oba, and now back to the show.
So who wants to go first?
I'll let you. How about you go first, just to kind of set the tone of like what you would perceive as like a project, kind of like what the template is for what we're doing here today.
All right. So my first topic is Steve Miner's unproduced American Godzilla from 1983. At that time, its only title was Godzilla King of the Monsters in 3D, which is ironic considering that Legendary Pictures' own American Godzilla would eventually be titled Godzilla King of the Monsters, also released in 3D.
That is true. But I mean, Steve, I feel like that was just like a title that was carried around a bit. Like it feels like, there was the Marvel comic had that title. We had the Dark Horse comic that had that title. It seemed like that was the American marketing title for it, because I feel like
Gojira was Gojira. He never had a subtitle. Like I don't think Godzilla in his home country ever had a subtitle to his thing.
Well, I guess
he technically
for him,
it's
technically it's Monster King Godzilla, which is just a Japanese translation of the English title. But
I've seen other ones where, like, I know in the Godzilla the Trading Battle, which is another obtuse reference because of course I said that. His various forms have like different like iterations, like World Ender monster or monster from the deep or something like that. Like he has a few different like iterations in his subtitle, but I don't think he's ever had that distinction from his own country.
Yeah. Anyways, David, go ahead.
Now, David, what was this movie? Was this movie ever like workshopped or was just kind of shopped around? Is this the one that has the props that were made, or am I thinking of something else?
So that the props were made as a more like a pitch as to what Godzilla would look like in the movie. I don't think these props were actually intended to be used in the film. I think they were intended to, like, when they shopped the script around in Hollywood, because from what I understand, there were 3 drafts, all written by Fred Decker, who is ironically not a Godzilla fan, and from his past interviews, it sounds like he didn't want to make this. He didn't want to write this movie, which is ironic coming from the guy that wrote and directed the Monster Squad. But
yeah, it's very strange because you think like that, like, but maybe again at the same time he had like an eye for maybe like the monster movie aesthetic.
Possibly, yeah. But
apparently this guy also had a hand in RoboCop 3.
Well, again, which is also funny because the first RoboCop has that whole stop motion dinosaur sequence.
Oh, he was the director of RoboCop 3. That's what's going on.
Which RoboCop 3 is fucking dumb.
Yes.
Fred Decker was a screenwriter and director at times in Hollywood, but this movie would have been directed by Steve Miner, the director of the first Friday the 13th Part 2 and 3, and would go on to direct things like Halloween, H2O, 20 Years Later, Lake Placid, Day of the Dead, and so on. But Steve was a fan of Godzilla, and this is why he wanted to do the movie in the first place, because he thought at that time in the 80s that Godzilla would benefit from a remake, and at that point in time, Godzilla was on hiatus. The last film was Terror of Mechagodzilla. And
yeah, because this is before. I think it's before we even knew that '84 was even coming out or being made. I think, right?
Yeah, and I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but Steve Miner said that once Toho made Godzilla '84, that kind of put a wrench into his Godzilla plans, and he just like let the rights expire back to Toho after that. But before that, he did make efforts to get the project shopped around Hollywood. There was concept art, which you can see online.
Yeah, the maquette's really interesting looking too, because he's got like he's more like Tyrannosaurus looking in the face area, but he's still got that kind of man in a suit looking body. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, William Stout designed that Godzilla. He said it was a combination of a Tyrannosaurus and Godzilla, classic Godzilla. And
in some of the concept art, he also, from what I've noticed, he kind of looks like Gorgo a little bit. He kind of has like fins on his face.
There's one where he kind of looks like a seahorse. You guys know which one I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know. I think I'm looking at the exact one you're talking about, where he's kind of got the really thin legs.
Yeah, but have any of you guys read the script?
Like, I have not, unfortunately.
It's been a minute. I remember like at least the parts I was able to see. I remember it kind of culminates in basically like a fight in Alcatraz.
Kinda, yeah. There's one. I have the revised first draft, but if you read the plot summary from Steve Rifle's book in Japan's Favorite Monstar, it seems he's describing a revised third draft. So there's some minor differences between the version that I read, the one that I have now, and the version that Steve is summarizing. But it's overall the same thing. It's basically an unofficial remake of Gorgo. The adult Godzilla has been freed from its I don't want to say prison. Huh?
Slumber?
I guess slumber.
From the Arctic, because that's how they always seem to want to shop a Godzilla just bursting out of the ice.
Well, the script opens with a nuclear satellite crashing in the Pacific Ocean. It opens up the ocean floor, and Godzilla's arm comes out, and that's where Godzilla in 3D, the titles, is supposed to shoot up at you. And apparently, at the baby is introduced later in a very cool sequence where they're investigating this destroyed nuclear submarine. They check the video data, and Godzilla pops up in front of it and I guess destroys the submarine, but it turns out it's the baby. And
Yeah, very much Gorgo. Like they're very much more not shy about how much this was just Gorgo.
yeah, I think it's Fred Decker's fault because he admitted that he tried watching some Godzilla movies and he couldn't get past them. So I think what happened was, you know what, I'm just gonna take the template from Gorgo because it's a far more interesting monster movie, and no one will be the wiser. I mean, there was no Google back then, no Wikipedia, no YouTube,
and also having access to most of the Godzilla films, especially in the '80s, I feel like might have been difficult because I feel like a lot of them didn't get released till like later in the '80s, and home video.
Yeah, not until the VHS era. And there were no guys like us that are able to put, hey, wait a minute,
actually,
this like this movie. Yeah.
You know, I like to. Part of me likes to think that this guy must have been like watching a monster movie marathon, fell asleep in the middle of a Godzilla movie, woke up, it was Gorgo, and he just thought it was the same. He was watching the same movie.
Most likely, like he wasn't a Godzilla fan, so he probably didn't know the difference.
Also, I realized two weird parallels that like the more I'm noticing like how the American scripts had gone and how it kind of influenced a lot of weird Godzilla media in America in the early 90s. So two things. One, the Alcatraz thing. If I remember correctly, apparently there was like still very much lost scene of 2014's Godzilla on Alcatraz Island. I'm not sure you guys remember that rumor.
I remember
it's in the novelization, yeah.
And there was like concept art of the Rock Mutal, which was like an earlier concept for a villain he would fight.
That's a piece of Godzilla Lost Media that I'm still like, I wish we could find and see someday.
Yeah, so we had like the Rock.
That'll be a whole other episode. But
yeah, wait, hold on. I didn't finish describing one. No, it was Godzilla and the Rock Mutal fighting on Alcatraz. Okay, now you can talk, asshole.
Whoa!
I said it.
I'm just gonna get a timeout after this.
Make me.
Anyways, as part of my tangent that you rudely interrupted. Anyways,
that I proudly interrupted.
Never. That the second weird parallel too is that I'm not sure if y'all remember the Trendmasters Godzilla comic book that came with the Trendmasters Godzilla 10-inch figures. Do you remember that comic book at all, either of you?
I know it existed, but I've never read it.
So it's a very short. It's basically just like it's called Monster Island Unleashed, where basically Godzilla, Rodan, and Mothra like head to New York City to fight, to fight Mechagodzilla and Mecha King Ghidorah.
Yeah.
But the goal of their whole like rampage is the scientists or whoever the bad guys are steal Godzilla's egg, and Godzilla's trying to get his egg back in this comic book. So it's such a weird parallel again that like
it's such an American thing.
Yeah, Godzilla having like this like child like type thing. It's like the King Kong like archetype thing where it's like this thing has a specific goal in mind because like he has to have pathos. It's like, come on, man, he doesn't have to. But it was just such a weird thing where it's like, because as a kid, I was like, I assumed like, oh, that's Minya. Like, I'm assuming that's like baby Minya or some shit.
I think that's that's just like a Hollywood thing to do. For it's like, how do we make a monster sympathetic? Give it a kid.
But this was just like in a weird like like 15, 20 page like mini comic that was included with the toy you bought.
Yeah.
So I was.
You know what?
It never came with like an egg toy. There was never.
No, there were.
Like,
remember, they had like I remember the advertisements on the back of the box would show like a baby Godzilla in an egg. There's a baby Ghidorah, a baby Rodan. Let me see if I can find it. But that was a
small version of the figures. But I'm saying
right.
There was never a this is what was in the egg in the story.
Okay.
Like a unique to Trendmasters toy line baby Godzilla.
Mm-hmm.
But still, again, that's the parallels. The fact that like that was a repeated concept in two facets, I thought was interesting.
Okay.
But also it was funny just because like the egg that Godzilla carries back, he's able to fit in his fucking palm. I'm like, what? Like it literally like he's holding like a fucking tangerine. It's like, what the hell? I was like, buddy, I'm pretty sure that's not even yours.
The Americans and their pregnant Godzillas.
No,
I like part of me always, or I also assume like I was like it might be like Rodan's and they're just calling it Godzilla because he's like it's my island, everything belongs to me. So if you take anything from it, it's mine. So if you steal an egg, it is my egg.
So I guess that means the writer of that random comic actually saw Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2, which was it even available in America by that time?
Well, that's what made it so the Trendmaster toy line so bizarre because a lot of it was all Heisei era stuff, and they made their own Heisei versions of all the Showa era monsters.
That's
By
true.
the time I own, like as far as my child brain knew, the only quote unquote new Godzilla movie that was available was 85. And I only saw the toys of the Heisei series. So I learned everyone's origin story and all that shit. But I was like, oh, it's so cool. But I was also like, and then my kid mind was like, wait a minute, I've never seen this.
Oh yes, yeah, that was the case with me as well. Yeah,
like knowing, like I knew Ghidorah, but then reading in his little booklet of like he's a genetically modified Okay, wait, what do you mean? When does that happen? Like, because again, that movie wasn't available to us, so it's like, okay, either you made that up or that's real.
Well, I remember growing up. I definitely remember watching Ghidorah 91 and Mothra 92 on TV at the time, and I believe they may have also have gotten like VHS releases along with other ones.
Because those didn't come out until after 1998 when Sony was putting them out.
Okay.
So before that time, they weren't available. Like when the Trendmasters figures were coming out, those movies were not available in the States because they were coming out when those toys were coming out. Because I had my first Godzilla toy in '94 when Godzilla vs. Destroy was coming out, basically.
Yeah. So
we didn't have those movies at all.
I will say, as dominated by the Heisei aesthetic as the 90s was, I'm definitely very curious by how Godzilla King of the Monsters in 3D would have looked like.
Yes, nice getting us back on track. I'm sorry, it took us into a weird cul-de-sac tangent.
Like, I haven't seen the script, but I have for years seen that concept art. I've seen the maquette.
Yeah, that maquette.
I've seen fan art and fan sculptures of that design. And
it's very interesting.
It's super unique, super interesting. I know for a lot of people would be put off by the T-Rex head. For me, looking at it now as an adult, it's a very fresh take on Godzilla, I'd say. And
it's also because given I feel like at the time too, because again, this was made in a time frame before we existed, so it's like it's something that if it did happen, it would just be like,
we would have accepted it.
Yeah, we would be like, oh yeah, of course, that's Godzilla King of Monsters from the 80s.
Like Godzilla's a dinosaur. Of course he's going to look like a dinosaur.
We'll go into this with some of our more ones because was there any final thoughts in your thing before we move on to the next one? Because a lot of these are kind of like trailing to each other because a lot of them are pretty much almost like rebrands of the initial.
I mean, I do want to at least say, like, had this actually have been a thing, I'm very curious what the projection of the Godzilla series would have been like. Like, that's
actually what I was going to bring up too, because like with any of these, but we'll go into it with
because
our own takes.
Would Toho have gotten jealous and then try to outdo Hollywood like we've got right now with Shin and -1, or would we have had like Toho just bowing out and saying, "Hey, yeah, you know what? This movie was a success. You guys take over from here." But still,
or them still making the '90s series, but letting their skills cook for a couple more years, kind of like doing like what the Gamera trilogy did, where like they put it off for so long that they just took their time making it instead.
Yeah, it would have been certainly a crazy time had that movie actually been made, and it would have been interesting to have seen how that would have influenced the trajectory of this franchise. Is what I meant to say. Regardless if it did well or not. But anyways, David, your final thoughts.
I think if this movie had been produced, it would have flopped. It would have flopped.
Definitely. Unfortunately, like I said, I agree with you 100% no on that. As much as I love Godzilla, like that shit's gonna do Garbo numbers, especially back then. Especially back then, that shit like would have. That's why it makes me think like even if it was made, I feel like Toho probably still would have done another movie, just because it's like, oh, that was cool. It ate shit, so let's keep making our movies.
Yeah, the budget for this movie was projected to be $30 million. Godzilla 1985 only made $4 million in the US. So this movie would have flopped hard.
Ouch.
Even with the American talent and the American side of the special effects.
Unless imagine they would have gone like some big 80s superstar for the time.
Well, that's what makes me wonder if it was done in the style of like Dino De Laurentiis' King Kong, which the cinematography, that one's really cool. Yeah. Like that one feels like the like has the vibe of 1985 despite being made in the 70s.
Right. I mean that's the one. That's
what I would hope from American Godzilla movie if we made one in the 80s or 70s that would have that like kind of like ooky eerie vibe that like some of the like late 70s, early 80s monster movies kind of have, where like it was just like it was like based on a classic goofy monster movie, but it was also like done kind of creepy and serious.
Ooh, like
70s King Kong,
or like John Carpenter's The Thing.
To a degree, maybe not, obviously not as grotesque.
Right, yeah. But I'm like,
but like the vibe where it's like it's taken a lot more serious because we're doing it here in the States. Just because again, at the end of the day, King Kong 1977, it's a guy in a gorilla suit, but like it's the tone of that movie is so like dead serious that it's like it's super cool. So it makes me the same with the 1985, where it's like it's back to being deadly serious. So like it'd be cool to see like that type of mindset. So I wonder if that movie would have been like that if it were to me, because we have no idea what the tone actually would have been like. We know what it would have played out like, but we don't know what the tone actually would have felt like.
I think you have to look towards Steve Miner's movies at that time. Friday the 13th and House, Soul Man. I honestly don't think
that's right. He made Soul Man. God damn it! Kids at home, don't look that up. Don't do that. Don't. Anyways, moving on.
I'm a soul man.
No, we're not even. No, we do not want our podcast canceled. Stop where you are, please. You know it's good for you. Don't keep bringing that up.
So yeah, Godzilla 3D. It would have preceded Legendary's 3D Godzilla films.
Sure would have. I'll go next.
Yeah.
So the next one that always was curious for me was the proposed sequel to Godzilla 1998. I always thought that one was very interesting. Like again, I'll maybe jump back to like what the initial concept was, but the fact it's like because it's one of those things where, say what you will about Godzilla 1988, when it came out, it did it flopped. It had like a latent flop like quality to it, where it did extremely well when it came out, and then it dropped off real hard. But like, imagine if that movie, again, it's conceptually was different, not like the exact same movie we got, but like if it was different enough to do well to warrant a sequel. Because back then, sequels, they would happen, but not as often as they do now. Like when a movie is made, it's like a sit and wait for a sequel type shit.
Yeah.
Nowadays, sequels are being announced before the first movie's even out, and I hate that.
Oh, remember?
I hate that. That's the biggest thing I hate, like with all my life, is the fact that it's like this. Like you'll see, I can't even name a movie, but like imagine a shit movie that's like, oh, that's gonna be shitty, and then you see like on like BuzzFeed like sequel at like number 2, number 3 already planned. It's like, what do you mean that movie didn't even come out yet?
Remember when they wanted like Power Rangers 2017? They're like, this is gonna be the first in an 8-part series.
There was a handful of those where like some of them come to fruition, but other ones like that's more like the Disney method is like before that shit even dropped, before the people were like, this movie sucks. They're like, sequel time. I'm like, excuse me. But so anyways, with again, Godzilla 2, I didn't think it had really a subtitle or name to it. It just was.
It was just Godzilla 2, yeah.
Godzilla 2. And like the long short of it, for those who aren't in the know, is essentially it's basically takes off from where the cliffhanger ended of the first one, where the egg hatches. And I believe, I'm going to have to pull up the article again, but I believe it takes place, I think, either in South America or Africa, I believe.
Sydney, like the final showdown is somewhere.
Oh yeah, in Australia. Okay, so it's because I remember it was like in a desert, and it's basically like Godzilla, like our Godzilla, the American Godzilla, and the offspring, the baby. I think he's called like the Runt or something like that in the script.
There's I've read this treatment about a dozen times, so I can correct some things.
Of course. So
the surviving baby Godzilla in the opening becomes the new adult Godzilla and has his own hatchling.
That's right. He has a baby. That one grows up and has a little baby.
Yeah, and he basically raises them in the outback in Australia. And there's one of the female characters that Nick Totopoulos dumps Audrey for.
Oh wow! So they just give up on that.
Yeah, they do very quickly. They do.
I mean, she was the villain of that movie. Let's be real.
No, yeah. I just find it funny whenever like they're like, "Hey, you know that whole relationship you were building up to in the last movie? Yeah, fuck it. It was all a waste of time."
Well, what is it? Fucking Dr. Kelsey or whatever her name was, like, no, Elsie, the person that the two characters who showed up in the animated series who had like 3 lines in the actual movie,
yes,
but they bothered to introduce.
Was it like?
It's Mendel Craven and Elsie Chapman.
Yeah. Mendel and
they're both introduced in the first like 20 minutes of that film, and then they don't have another speaking line until I think the end of the movie. I swear to fucking God. Here's it. I do like that they both got to voice their own characters in the show because it's like, hey man, fucking residuals.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm pretty sure. Yeah, both actors got to voice their characters. But anyways, so yeah, it's them, and then they fight against what I guess was dubbed like Queen Bitch, just this giant like cicada bug looking thing.
Yes, although apparently my buddy Nick had interviewed the guy who wrote that treatment or wrote that script, and I believe had the Queen Bitch actually been made real, a proper name for it would have been Stinger.
I'd fucking hope so.
Yeah, because you can't market Queen Bitch on children's toys.
The thing that bugs me out though is because as much as people love or hate Patrick Tatopoulos' Godzilla design, his other creatures designs, because he did work for like Extreme Ghostbusters and the Men in Black cartoon. His design aesthetic is so fucking cool.
It is, absolutely.
It's H.R. Geiger without the penises.
Oh man!
Literally, like it's like these creepy like skeleton, like everything has like
veins protruding out of their muscles, or like weird hollow skulls with like their nostrils like flaring out the top of their face, like like these creepy, disgusting looking designs that I absolutely love. But like that's the thing about it, because like that we could have gotten a monster for him to fight in his design aesthetic. Yeah,
if he was on board with that project, I don't remember if he was.
Right,
but like
apparently
it would have been cool.
Mm-hmm. So apparently, Stinger or the Queen Bitch would have been a mutant Polynesian hornet that got mutated with the first Godzilla, and where they would have fought would have become somewhat of a pseudo monster island with, I guess, like large giant bugs, lizards, and fish and plant life living on it.
What's interesting to me and that I find weird, and this is my problem, I think I've addressed this, I'm not sure on air or not, but my issue I've always had is when giant monsters are in open areas. Mm-hmm. That's the thing that probably would have bugged me about this as a kid, is because like these, like they're big, but like if they're fighting in just like this fucking outback, like where there's nothing for scale, it's like that just looks like a velociraptor fighting a big wasp. Like that's kind of dumb. Mm-hmm. So like, what if like they're crashing into buildings, or if they actually make it to the city? I don't know if that even happens in the script. That'd be neat.
Let's see.
But also it's kind of funny and weird that somehow Godzilla meets his demise in Sydney.
Yes, that is true.
Had this gone forward, I'm not completely sure if Roland Emmerich would have even wanted to come back, because ever since 1998, he's made it very clear that he never even wanted to be a part of the first Godzilla.
I mean, I think he made it clear when he was even asked to do it.
Yeah, he was TriStar's first choice simply because he was able to deliver his studio Centropolis at that time was capable of making blockbusters on a discount. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm going to bring that up with my other choice.
We have some big things to talk about, but just to kind of put a pin in the rest of this is that it would have been, again, interesting, because I would imagine that this still would have been concurrent with like the animated series. I imagine, because I think that was still in the works despite the movie, whatever it would have done. But it would have been cool. Again, like we were saying, like, would this have affected, would Godzilla 2000 still have been made? I feel like it still probably would have. But it would have been interesting to see if this one, like, again, would have done, if this did well enough for a sequel that also, was received okay.
Yeah, kind of funny because
I think, like, would then Godzilla 98 like become more of a legacy character, as we know, like Legendary's Godzilla as a legacy character nowadays?
Oh, I see what you mean now.
Yeah, like because at first when 2014 came out, as far as we knew, because again before sequelitis for everything happened, we were like, oh, that's such a cool thing. Like, it'd be neat if he came back, But it's like a cool one-off of like, interesting, like what a new fun take on this monster. We might never see that again. And then, you know, the monsters continued. So now we have an established Godzilla for the monsters. We have that Godzilla now in our like, you know, history of Godzillas.
For the last 10 years. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. So it would have been very interesting if like Godzilla 98 carried on such a legacy. Obviously, his legacy is a little infamous these days, or I feel like it's getting more of a different light these days, but still.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It would have been interesting because, like, you know, that would mean even if Toho kept continued, it still would mean we would still see like Godzilla 98 merchandise more often, like almost nostalgia type stuff where it's like, you know, like the throwback to like the 2 Godzilla movies from the 90s, you know, from America. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
oh, yeah, kind of like what we're getting right now with the Ultraman Towards the Future and the Ultimate Hero release on Blu-ray from.
Well, not even so much that, but it's more like, you know how like Men in Black keeps coming back, and that was a product of the 90s, where it'd be something like that effect, where it's like maybe not so much another movie featuring Godzilla 98, but the fact that it would be acknowledged more from that aesthetic, because we'll see Godzilla parodies left and right. But like, imagine if we saw Godzilla 98 parodies, but as like a thing where it's like, oh yeah, that movie, like those 2 movies, I remember those 2.
Right. Like if they were seen in like a positive light.
Yeah, so that's what I think I'm more trying to say is like as a legacy character where it's like, oh yeah, right. Like I remember Godzilla 98 and Godzilla like 2. You know. Yeah.
Kind of like how people remember, like, let's see, what's like Independence Day, basically, because that's ultimately what they wanted at the end of the day, was another Independence Day.
Yeah, and again, they eventually made a second Independence Day, but, like, that's what I'm saying, it was just, like, a weird thing where it's like, oh, yeah, like, this thing, and, like, you know, you'd still see that on shirts.
Yeah, and then they'll make a
Walmart or Hot Topic.
And then they'll make a legacy sequel set 25 years later, and they'll bring back Matthew Broderick out of semi-retirement.
Out of jail.
Out of jail.
Kids, do some research. You'll know why.
Ooh,
anyway. But again, it would be really neat if, again, a sequel happened, and just like how it would affect the landscape, and then how that character would have been perceived just going into the future as to now. But that's where I leave on that. But yeah, that's it. My final thought on that.
I think had this movie been produced, I think it wouldn't have flopped, but it would have underperformed. And
definitely would have been like a straight to VHS if like at the very least, like maybe
no, not that. It's just that around that same time that Godzilla 98 was released, you had The Mask of Zorro, which did pretty good business. And then like 6 years later, the sequel came out, The Legend of Zorro, and that movie made less money than the first film. So I feel like Godzilla 2 probably would have followed a similar path, especially since it probably would have taken 2-3 years to produce that movie.
Yeah, and also like you know, and also at the same time, remember like some big new titles were coming, because like I think the year later, X-Men came out. Then and then, you know, 2 years after that, Spider-Man. Like, so like the landscape of what was going to be cool in movies changed from like big disaster epics to superhero films for a hot minute.
Yeah, but at the same time, you had 9/11, so that probably would have impacted how destruction scenes would be depicted on screen.
Well, that's what I'm saying, yeah, because them being set in the outback, maybe they would have just stuck to like the open field, not the city anymore.
Oh, I can see that, yeah.
Yeah.
I still actually, I feel like it's going to be brought up later, but that reminds me of the dumbest thing I ever heard from the proposed script for, I think, Godzilla. I think it was the one of the American versions of Godzilla where he like slam dunks the Griffin's head on the Statue of Liberty.
Oh, and, like, fuck! I remember that.
that made me want to like light myself on fire and burn all my guys. I'm like, if that was the thing that I had to tell people, like, there's been a lot of like dorky, embarrassing shit in the Godzilla movies, but if that was one of them, I honestly would like end my life. Like, no, that's too embarrassing. That's too embarrassing. But I know, I have a feeling it's going to come up later. But like, no.
I have that script, and I'm going to bring it up.
Yes, please. Please. Well, first, I'll just go, and then we'll get into it.
He does spike it, but I do not remember the word slam dunk being.
Well, it basically feels like he slam dunked it because he just won. So he's like,
"Come on and slam, and welcome to the jam."
But the fact that he winks at the camera and goes like, "I'm like, no, get the fuck out of here."
And then Charles Barkley enters the picture.
Let's move on with Anders' thing so I can find that goddamn part.
Yeah, I know. Okay. I just remember reading that, and I like stepped away from my computer and like like smoked a cigarette. I don't even smoke. Like one up here in my hand. I just need this. I need something to feel.
Oh, wait! I found it.
Wait, save it for your section. Hold on, we
Save it?
can't.
Okay.
I want to like dedicate a whole like chunk of this episode to that. So please hold on for just a second. Andres, what's yours?
Oh, sure. Before I go into it, I do want to say that I do believe in terms of how this movie would relate to the tie-in cartoon. I'm pretty sure the sequel would have ignored the cartoon completely.
I believe so too. Like I don't think Heat would have existed. It would have been neat, but also would have been very confusing.
Oh, for sure. But it kind of just reminds me of stuff like, remember Men in Black, the series, where the first movie ends with Tommy Lee Jones's character retiring completely.
Leaving.
Yeah. And then, like, they're just together again, just solving crimes together, as if that ending didn't happen. And then, of course...
It's also weird because, like, the first Men in Black movie, that takes place over the course of, like, a day.
Yeah.
Which is nuts to think about. Like,
yeah.
certain movies like that. Like, actually, micro tangent. I blew my friend's mind when I told him like, oh, do you remember the Majin Buu saga takes place in less than 24 hours?
That's true because there's like everything is constantly happening in real time.
It's not even 5 o'clock by the time it's over. It starts at like 11 in the morning and ends by like dinner time. Like that's how fucking quick that is.
Like, not counting all the Gohan high school superhero stuff.
Yeah, no, like the straight up, like, the part where Boo is introduced and then is defeated is within that day.
Yeah.
Like that morning, if somebody woke up, had breakfast, went to the World Tournament, and then an hour or two later, the Earth got blown up.
I could have sworn the Cell Saga is also somewhat similar. Oh, no, there was 2 weeks. There was a 2 week break.
Yeah, 2 weeks. No, Buu Saga 1 day. So Majin Buu annihilates the planet with his Earth like disintegration ray, and then Kid Buu blows it up an hour later.
Yeah. Yes.
It's that quick. Anyways,
yeah. I feel like it would have been the animated series would have been an alternate continuity to from the first movie. But
which would have been fine, but I feel like they should have introduced, like, what is it, Cameron Winters, like, have a villain.
Yeah, although it is really funny to think that, well, again, it's just like, what was it, the real Ghostbusters was technically a sequel to the first movie, but then Ghostbusters 2 came in and ignored everything from the cartoon, despite kids of the day loving the cartoon. So yeah, tie-in cartoons never fucking matter. The new Spider-Man, the new animated series from MTV with Neil Patrick Harris as Spider-Man. That series was.
I remember that.
Yeah,
that series sort of is a sequel to the first movie.
The first movie, yes, and then obviously once the second movie came in, it's like, yeah, we're not following this shit.
Well, that's also what's weird about the games. Anyways,
yeah.
What is your thing?
Okay, so. I'm going to go in chronological order with my 3 projects, and the first one is probably the biggest one for me. This is one that is personal to me, given that I had worked with Matt Burkett on a video series for this Lost project that eventually grew into something else entirely. I want to talk about Shotaro Ishinomori's Kamen Rider Gaia. So a lot of this is pulled from the project that Matt Burkett and I worked on, so highly recommend you check out Matt Burkett's video on the project. It is sorely in need of more attention. But essentially, this project would have been...
Drop a link in the description!
Yes, I will. This project was essentially the culmination of like 20 years worth of ideas that Ishinomori had been formulating in his mind concerning Kamen Rider. Right from the get-go, he always had an idea of Kamen Rider being tied into nature, like Mother Nature versus the corrupting powers of mechanical science.
Yeah, and he wanted him to actually be a bug.
Oh, for sure, yeah. He toyed with the idea of like Kamen Rider having like an organic transformation. He toyed around with it with Kamen Rider Amazon, Kamen Rider Black, and along the way he would tie it in with projects such as Have You Seen the Kamen Rider, New Kamen Rider, Kamen Rider Zero. These are all ideas that he was floating in his mind that eventually became other projects, and eventually this formulated into a pitch known as Kamen Rider Gaia, where the whole theme would have been nature. That nature subtext would have been brought to the forefront with a manga proposal. In this manga proposal, the main character would have been essentially a prototype Kamen Rider that Shocker was developing long before they had ever kidnapped Takeshi Hongo. This prototype Kamen Rider Zero individual would eventually be kept dormant in a glass tube container and left to essentially wither away in the bowels of Shocker's hidden base. And it's not until this mystical, almost ethereal tree of life entity grew its roots around the abandoned Shocker base would it infuse its essence into this cyborg individual and grant it the powers of Mother Nature.
Which I feel like sort of came, like, we got, like, I feel like within the what do you want to call it, the Sheen series of films, like, we sort of got, like, a glimpse of, like, bits and pieces of that with, like, in Kamen Rider Zo, like, Zeto, like, he's just kind of laying in, like, the dirt, and he, like, revives himself.
Oh, yeah.
Kamen Rider J just, like, I'm pretty sure Kamen Rider J, like, also is a bug.
Yes, he is a bug man with vaguely defined ties to nature and technology.
And I think, isn't it implied that he might be the son of Kamen Rider Sheen?
Oh, no. So, like, that's a different continuity altogether.
I like the way I viewed it. I was because like you see like the weird bug baby at the end of that movie.
Oh yeah. Oh, but
so I was assuming that like later in life he grew up to be that guy, Kamen Rider J.
No. I mean, interesting.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I remember the insect baby, the little fetus with antennas.
I like Bug Man, but I don't like Bug Baby.
Little Bug Baby. I fucking love the Bug Baby. It's the best. Bug Baby, like, wait, okay, top 3 babies in media: 2001 Space Odyssey Baby, the Eraserhead Baby, and Kamen Rider Shin's Bug Baby. Top 3 babies.
You're a monster.
While we're doing this episode, I'm going to send Andres that picture to put in the description.
Okay. So, though there is a side tangent, there is a fantastic premise for what became of that baby in the SIC series. I keep forgetting what it stands for.
I think I always call it sick.
Yeah, because it is fucking sick.
That's I mean, because I had a few of those things, and those ones are like, what if Kamen Riders were just fucking mutant bugmen? Like, actually.
Yeah. I love those designs.
I had the Shadow Moon Black set where like. They were very organic. He had, like, movable mandibles. Like, his armor came off. He had that exoskeleton. It was gross.
Oh, here we go. Super Imaginative Chogokin. And they actually did a follow-up to Shin Kamen Rider Prologue.
Is that where he's wearing pants?
Yes. So in that one, the baby grows up to become a second Shin Kamen Rider, though Shin, in this case, being the kanji for new, whereas his dad has Shin, the kanji for true, or truth.
Yeah.
So
yeah, because one's Shin Kamen Rider, one's Kamen Rider Shin.
Yes.
Right?
No. They're both Shin Kamen Rider. Just different kanjis.
That must have been the weird bootleg I had because that's why I kept calling it Kamen Rider Shin, just because I think
shit, I forgot. That. Nowadays, the 1992 character is referred to as Kamen Rider Shin. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've been calling him that since I saw the movie because that's what I thought he was called.
Oh yeah, but now he is called that, so you're justified. Yay. So Shin Jr., as I'm going to call him, Shin Jr., he is an adult.
No, call him Kamen Rider Pants. Let's be real.
No, Shin Jr.
David, have you seen this character?
Who?
Shin Jr.
Yeah, it's Shin. Like, again, imagine Shin Kamen Rider. You know, that crazy looking bug man. Now throw leather pants on him, and that's it.
Oh no, I have not seen this, but show me.
I will.
I'll while he's talking, I'll send it to you.
Okay, so in this it's a very, very short story of mask. It's called SIC Kamen Rider Shin Edition, where we follow the son of the protagonist of Shin Kamen Rider Prologue. In it, the baby has grown up to become an adult, and he is continuously on the run from the Syndicate, the antagonist from the movie, and also trying to find a way to like fight off this corrupt evil organization. In the meanwhile, he was inspired by a TV show his dad used to be a big fan of called Kamen Rider. And so, inspired by his dad's favorite show, he decides to hide his mutant appearance by dressing up in a leather outfit and a mask to look like Kamen Rider. And by the end,
he still looks like a freak.
He is, but he's weird. But
you see the picture?
Yeah, so at the end of the day, he ends up having to confront another mutant grasshopper man, this time with blank white eyes and 4 arms. And
I know that one.
Yes, and this creature turns out to be...
This thing I made is upsetting. I'm sorry, everyone.
And this thing turns out to be his own his brainwashed father. So now, old Shin and new Shin must fight in this like sad little twist of fate. So yeah, that's what would have happened to the baby. He would have become the next Shin Kamen Rider. And
I put the photo in the chat. I'm sorry, everyone.
The fact that he dresses up like Kamen Rider, and that Kamen Rider as a TV show exists as a fictional TV show in this world, is a concept that Ishinomori had actually played around with multiple times. I believe the... what was it? It was the concept for Have You Seen the Kamen Rider was very much so like that, where Kamen Rider would have been a horrific mutant bug man who was then inspired by a TV show that he watched and puts on a costume to look like a traditional Kamen Rider. And the manga version of Kamen Rider Black, he calls himself Kamen Rider because he watched Kamen Rider back in the day, and his friend builds a motorcycle for him because he was a fan of Kamen Rider as well. And Tojima Wants to Be a Kamen Rider is literally about a guy who wants to be Kamen Rider because he grew up watching Kamen Rider on TV. So this is a concept that has been around for decades within the franchise, and has only recently, kind of come full circle with Tojima Rider. Anyways, back to fucking Gaia. So Gaia, like I said, was a prototype Kamen Rider who would have been infused with the power of Mother Nature and would wake up essentially fighting an evil alien invader with a heavy emphasis in mechanically augmented aesthetic.
Which again we often see in Kamen Rider Media, especially in the Zo trilogy, in the what do you want to call it, the Shin trilogy, where the first guy fights is like a RoboCop, and then the second one it's a robot version of himself kind of guy, like a Robobug, and then in the third one it's a giant metal castle. Oh,
for sure, yeah. So again, it's sort of like a evil, corrupt mechanic.
So he kind of got his wish, but just not in the way he wanted.
Oh yeah, it was nature versus machine, basically. And this would have been... and he wouldn't actually be Kamen Rider. He would have this feral, animalistic form called Gaiborg. And eventually, at some point, Gaiborg would eventually transform into a proper Kamen Rider as Kamen Rider Gaia. And during this time, for whatever reason, the manga never came to be, but rather he then started to shift the project into a movie in celebration of the upcoming 20th anniversary of the Kamen Rider franchise. And eventually, the Kamen Rider Gaia movie would eventually evolve into Shin Kamen Rider Prologue, where he would have... his son, Joe Odagiri, would have been a co-writer of that final product. And eventually, once Shin Kamen Rider Prologue, despite promising more in the future, those sequels never came to pass. He then, moved on to the next project, and within Kamen Rider Zeto and Kamen Rider J, we see a lot of the ideas of Mother Nature and corruption and mechanical freaks of nature.
Kamen Rider Approach does not really do the job. You know what does the job better? The Fly 2.
That is true to a degree. But yeah, so the DNA of Gaia would pass on throughout the Shinzeto J trilogy, and finally, before Ishinomori passed away, I believe in 1998, he worked on one last treatment of Kamen Rider Gaia, where rather than being like Mother Nature themed, or it would have been a whatchamacallit, evil scientific freak of nature. He had an idea of Gaia being an ancient device from a lost civilization that would have given the main protagonist in the modern day all his powers. And ultimately, this basic premise that he made before he died would become the basis for Kuga in 2000. And as we go through the Heisei era of Kamen Rider, we would continue to see a lot of the themes of like human evolution and man versus nature versus machines, like man versus monster. We see a lot of those themes present in a lot of these projects. A lot of whether it's Kamen Rider Kuga, Agito, Faiz, Kiva, Kabuto, the very core themes of Kamen Rider Gaia would always stick around in some way, shape, or form. And eventually, in the 2000s, the original manga proposal of Ishinomori's would be adapted as a 2-volume light novel series called Kamen Rider Eve, Masked Rider Gaia. And that 2-volume light novel series was the closest we have ever gotten to a proper Gaia adaptation. And every once in a while on Twitter, I would see people sharing artwork from from Kamen Rider Eve, Masked Rider Gaia, and would always be like, man, I wish we got an anime done in this retro style of Gaia, done like Kikaider the animation. And I am with them 1000%. If you've seen any of the art from Kamen Rider Eve, Kamen Rider Gaia, I would absolutely love for an anime to be made like Kikaider the animation, but for Kamen Rider Eve / Gaia. I even went so far as to import the two novels. And while I hear that the writing is somewhat basic, then again, this was a light novel series made for younger demographic. I would love to one day translate these books. And I don't know whether I can get like a publisher to publish it in English or just even release it into the world. It's just like, knowing that this was Ishinomori's last project that he had in mind, that he never gave up on, and was sort of like crafting and perfecting it for years, it's sort of like, it feels like for any English fans of Kamen Rider, I feel like you need, American or English-speaking writer fans really needs to experience Gaia like in some way, shape, or form, simply out of respect for the guy.
Yeah. Also, how come Kamen Rider doesn't fight birds enough? Because birds eat bugs all the time. Anyways.
I mean, there's always a bug. There's always a bird-themed...
A bird, yeah.
Yeah, there's always a bird-themed kaijin every time.
Always be a bird.
He fought a bat in the second episode.
Yeah.
But he always does. Skullman has a fucking bat friend.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's get on to the real shit. David, unleash upon the world the sacred one.
My next one is another unproduced American Godzilla. The Godzilla that we were robbed from.
The one that like has one of the crazier long development hell histories that I've ever read in my life.
Oh yeah, Bride of Godzilla. Hell yeah.
Even if I wasn't a Godzilla fan, I would find the origin of like Godzilla like 94 into 98 fucking fascinating.
For the sake of argument, I guess I'll refer to this project as Godzilla 94, but the actual title is simply Godzilla, not Godzilla versus the Griffin, not Godzilla 94. It's just Godzilla. But
Godzook.
But since the the version of the script that many of us have read is the December 1994 draft. And the only reason why it's called the final draft, it's because that is the final draft that the writers, Ted Elliott and Terry Rossio, worked with Jan de Bont before he left the project. But they kept on working on the script even after he left. And even a new writer, Don McPherson, who is a Godzilla fan, I have to add, because eventually they handed the keys to the kingdom to someone who's not a fan. Anyways, Don McPherson eventually came in. He took their script and basically revised it into what would end up becoming Godzilla 2014.
Oh.
Yeah. Because a lot of the concepts were interesting for the story. I think the thing that fascinated me the most just about 94 in theory is like, I feel like the scaling and the way this thing would have moved, I thought was the most interesting part about him.
He probably would have moved like the dinosaurs from Jurassic Park, and I say that because
all the concept art I've seen of him, he's got like the dupe claws and stuff. He's like hunched over.
Yeah, the Stan Winston Studios were the ones that designed Godzilla and the Griffin for Jan de Bont's version. So more than likely,
I like that. I do like that version, the standing upright one, like the Winston Godzilla.
Yeah.
He probably would have moved like the dinosaurs, but bigger. So more weight, more gravity.
Yeah, the thing I found interesting, and I think this was in another concept art, is like I remember seeing this one pose where he's literally like hugging the ground like Spider-Man almost, and he had like that whole like bullshit where he like almost hunted like a panther. It was interesting.
Yeah, there's several scenes in the script where Godzilla crawls on all fours, and one of the writers of this script who ended up writing the first draft for Godzilla vs. Kong, he actually you can see Legendary's Godzilla crawling on all fours a couple times during that Hong Kong fight with Kong.
Right.
Yeah, which I thought was cool. Like I think the I'm not sure if I don't know the whole calls it, but I've heard a lot of people dub it as alligator mode, which I really dig, or crocodile mode.
Mm-hmm.
Because he literally, I'm pretty sure he literally does like a death roll in Kong's like fucking arm.
Yeah. Does he?
I remember no, he does it. He does it on. I believe it. No, he does it on King Ghidorah in the water. He that's how he like rips off his head.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He like death rolls his head off. I'm like, that's sick.
Now, before we proceed, Frank, here is that scene
please.
that gives you pause. Let me read it to you. Let me read it to you like a parent reads bedtime stories to his children.
I'm standing up in my room.
Right. Like being microwaved, the body ignites from the inside out and explodes. Hanging from Godzilla's head, the head snarls and bites. Godzilla gives it an almost exasperated look and spikes the head on the jagged remains of one of the towers of the Brooklyn Bridge. The head stops snapping. Weird blue eyes stare starkly. Godzilla leans close to it, stares back. It is dead. Godzilla roars. So he doesn't slam dunk the damn head. He just spikes it.
No, I swear to God, I read it somewhere. There's one where he puts it on the Statue of Liberty and walks away.
I that may have been a later draft.
It was in a similar vein where he puts it on the Statue of Liberty's head and then turns to the camera. He doesn't wink, but it basically is.
Yeah, the problem with this thing is that it's not a problem. It's common in Hollywood to have multiple drafts of a screenplay. So you read a version that is technically correct, but it probably would have been a first draft or a later draft.
Mm-hmm.
But this draft that I'm reading, the final draft done with Jan de Bont, he spikes it on the Brooklyn Bridge. But it seems on point with something that the Showa Godzilla would do. You know, that anthropomorphic style of.
But here's the thing: with Suitmation, it's endearing. In CG, that's embarrassing.
CG.
Just because facial animation back, because especially in the 90s, that was weird. I don't even know what I don't even know how to describe it, but weird lip movement animatronics. That's the best way I can describe them. Everything, because they were trying to make everything have their mouth articulate cool, but all the time their lips would just move fucking creepily. So I can just picture this Godzilla animatronic going giving a weird fucking Billy Idol fucking smile.
Like the white dragon from the Neverending Story whenever he talks.
Falcon. Well, that was the 80s, but something out of like the fucking Guyver, like that type, like those type of fucking gross looking monsters. Like the Zonoids and that shit, like where they had like the human eyes and human teeth, but like had monster faces. Like that kind of yucko shit.
Well, anyways, I seem to be one of the few fans in the Western side of the fandom that really, really likes not only this version of Godzilla, but just the script.
Oh, don't get me wrong. Like I said, I'm just kind of on that last thing because I thought, like, out of everything that is goofy and wild about this movie, I thought that was just dumb. But even though I would have popped off like a fucking motherfucker if I saw that as a kid, but like I dig the idea. I always dig the idea of like Godzilla like being found and then fucking rising to the challenge to fight another monster. I always thought that was always my favorite like archetype of like him as a character.
I thought that was really cool as well. It would certainly be like a much more interesting concept than I feel like how 2014 handled things, where it's like, yeah, he's just always here. He's just always been here.
Yeah, and I wish that's why I wish they kept the again that small fragment from this where again they found him on ice.
Yeah. I do gotta ask, is he still essentially a genetically engineered alien creation in this version of the script, David?
Oh yeah, I forgot that's one of the versions.
Yeah, that idea, it seems like it's consistent with all drafts.
Okay. I really did not like that.
I found that interesting, and I always wondered, because it's one of those things, I wonder if this was like weird parallel thinking, because that's almost like how Gamera was reinvented.
Oh yeah, it's totally parallel.
But like it was parallel thinking, because we didn't know about that movie yet.
Yeah, nobody knew about that movie.
Here's the thing, and I will die on this hill.
Please.
Gamera, Guardian of the Universe, purposely ripped off TriStar's early Godzilla script because the first draft was submitted in 1993.
I can believe it.
Daiei did not announce Guardian of the Universe until 1994, and it didn't go into production until later that year. So it's not uncommon to
leaking somewhere. I can 100% see it.
Coincidence? I think not.
It's very common in the film industry to steal someone's script and say, I can do it better. GoBots did it with Transformers.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, GoBots came first, but yeah, I'm not gonna. Yeah, it's semantics at this point.
Yeah.
But no, it is odd that like I would have been more fine. Like that's actually what I thought the Monsterverse was building to. That it was like a Gamera type thing where like Atlanteans like made Godzilla, but no, they're just like he just was.
They can still do that considering the
direction. They're definitely gonna. The fact that Godzilla is now like one of one, even though technically he's not.
Right, they previously established.
Literally, the dead monster in the first movie is one of him.
Yeah. Oh, that's not Godzilla. That's Dagon. It's like it's a fucking Godzilla.
Look at the concept art. It's Godzilla shaped, you fucking butt.
Remember, Frank, the Triceratops skull. They're like, oh, that's not a Triceratops. That's a fucking snake with a Triceratops head.
Yeah, no. Look, the only thing that they nailed that I thought was the coolest like piece of like world building, this is my side tangent, is the fact that Skull Island sunk beneath the sea, which is canon to Skull Island in any of the novelizations, and even the Peter Jackson referenced it too. True. That Skull Island like is destined to just sink beneath the waves and never be seen again. Yeah. That happens with the Skull Island and the Monsterverse subtly over the course of those films.
Right.
That's why you can't even get into it, because it's slowly just being like overtaken.
I mean, hell, even what was it? The novel, the Joe DeVito novel, Kong, King of Skull Island, also made reference to the fact that a lot of its wildlife is doomed to die, and that's why Carl Denham ended up spending the last years of his life documenting every single life form in his journal.
That's the one I'm referring to. Yeah, that's where I found out about it. Yeah, he just sees it like sink.
Yeah. Anyways,
well, that's also what happens at the end of Son of Kong, the original Son of Kong.
Right. That's the one that introduced. That's the one that introduced the concept. Yeah. Anyways, so Godzilla's still an alien essentially in this one. Are the human
and also it's weird too is again the scaling of Godzilla in the American film I always found interesting because he hunched over, because like Godzilla we always perceived 98 as small, but he's at the time, technically, he was like second biggest of Godzilla's.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because Godzilla, like I think I want to say it was what Ghidorah, Godzilla onward were big. Everything under that was like 80 meters. I believe 98 is around 80 to 90 meters tall. Like he was like technically bigger than Showa era Godzilla and 1984 Godzilla. Like he was technically bigger than them, but like compared to American skyscrapers, he looked teensy. So I always thought that was an interesting divide too because of that. Like a modern architecture making monsters kind of look weird.
Yeah, that's true.
Not unless they did it by Stan Winston Studios.
I mean, here's the thing: they have plenty of miniature sets in Godzilla '98, but we can't always tell because it's so quick.
Yeah,
and he's not there the whole time.
One last question I have for you, David: are the human characters improved in any way? Because I was never really a fan of the mother and her daughter in that original, more commonly found script.
The draft I've read. I've also read the 1995 draft, which is more or less a more.
Did they ever list casting for who the proposed cast would have been for this, or no? Because I was wondering, because like even if the script had issues, it's one of those things where like if they had like the right cast, I wonder if that would have made it work.
There were names thrown around. There were no negotiations yet because this was still early on during the development stage. But Bill Paxton's name was thrown around for.
I could definitely see Bill Paxton being in that fucking movie. God damn it, he would so be in that. He's in fucking what is it, Mighty Joe Young.
And Helen Hunt, her name was thrown around for Jill, the character you just mentioned on this.
Yeah.
And I strongly believe that
she also would have been great. Far, A+.
Yeah, because guess what movie Jan de Bont ended up doing after he left Godzilla? Twister. With Bill Paxton.
Yeah.
So he probably did want to work with those actors for Godzilla, but it didn't happen. So
that cast would have been great in a Godzilla movie. Actually, that's interesting. I want to see where the cast of Godzilla, like Hank Azaria, Matthew Broderick, and whatever that bitch's name is, fucking being in Twister, and this guy's being in Godzilla '98. I wonder if that would have been a crazy different movie.
Yes, it would be.
That's the thing. Actually, I always wondered, like, if the cast was different in that film, like and likable, I wonder if the film would have been a little bit better.
Oh yeah,
nothing really changed, but the cast was likable.
I mean, the reason why people loved Independence Day as much as they do, I feel like for like
Welcome to ARF.
Yeah, you have fucking Will Smith, fucking Jeff Goldblum, and everyone else in that movie. Fucking David. Wait, what's his name? David Firestein. Harvey Firestein. David. Oh my God, David. Those character actors, those fucking guys, saved that movie. It elevated that fucking material. So I agree with Frank that whoever had they gotten like a really solid cast, it could have easily have fucking made that my issues with the script a non-issue.
Here's the thing.
Because the script is garbage, but like a good cast could have saved it a little bit.
Here's the thing: if this version of Godzilla proceeded without any issues, I do think it would have been a '90s classic on the equivalent with Independence Day. And
that's what I mean. Like that's what I was saying in my earlier statement that like it could have been like a legacy character, maybe not like in perpetuity, but still be like you would still see like that amongst the nostalgic T-shirt rack,
Yeah.
Well, obviously because of licensing, you don't see it anymore. But like, if it did, I feel like you would still see that on like in Hot Topic.
Well, yeah. Well, had this movie been produced, there would have been loads of toys on this Godzilla and the Griffin, loads of merchandise, even a video game. And as I was saying,
good one.
I feel like it would have been a point and click adventure game because I don't think they had the chops to make like a fighting game back then.
Or like a Mortal Kombat game, but more simplified.
With 2 characters?
Yeah, with 2 characters.
No.
No. But like I said, I think this movie would have been a 90s classic because Jan de Bont ended up directing 2 films that are now considered 90s classics. So after he left this movie, he did Speed and Twister.
Oh man!
Dude, imagine Keanu Reeves was in Godzilla. Holy fuck!
Fuck, man! I'm just thinking about that.
Jan de Bont had an eye for a good ensemble cast. So yes, Andres, the cast here probably would have been more than serviceable. They would have been lovable.
Fuck, man!
Godzilla means whale and gorilla. whoa. Exactly. That's
There
or if this was made around fucking Matrix time, he would have been hot as fuck. He would have been even more marketable.
There were so many characters that could have played that Dr. Vought character. You know, Bill Paxton, Keanu Reeves, Jeff Goldblum, or Matthew Broderick, who ended up being in the movie anyway. But yeah, it would have had a solid cast, I believe. And
because again, there are good character actors in that film. Like the guy playing Commander Hicks, he's great. And I always thought it was so funny when seeing him in Transformers. I remember watching with someone I used to hang out with. We were watching, and I was like, "Hey man, that guy fucked up Godzilla." like that's why he's not fazed by Megatron and all of his bullshit. It's like, motherfucker, I fought Godzilla like in my early 30s. Fuck yourself. I ain't afraid of you.
Yeah. I did think this movie would have been financially successful too, and TriStar would have proceeded with their original trilogy plans. But had they done that, I'm not sure if we would have had a Millennium Toho series.
I feel like we would have had it, like, if I like that. Actually, that's going to go into my next thing. But I feel like we would have at the very least had. I feel like we would still have had Godzilla 2000 and definitely Final Wars. I feel like those movies still would have happened, but the three in between, not so sure.
No GMK, no.
You know which one I'm leaving out.
Yeah, Mega Gears.
Nope.
No. Tokyo SOS?
Yep. Me and just had like an hour-long conversation after last episode talking about this.
About the Kiryu saga.
Yeah.
Oh,
like one of these days we are going to dedicate an episode called "I Am Right, Fuck Yourself" on this.
Fuck Kiryu.
No. We'll have like an actual dedicated conversation about this. But no, sorry. I actually was unintentional, but no, like I feel like we wouldn't have the Kiryu saga, GMK or Mega Gears if. Like this did that was just my like theory. Like I feel like 2000 still would have existed just because why wouldn't you, like as a studio with a legacy character that why wouldn't you make a thing at literally the new millennium? Why wouldn't you do that?
The funny thing is that Sony at that time didn't want to do Godzilla because they thought it was still a campy character, and they thought that even a new revamped version would have had potential for camp. But these producers, Kerry Woods and Robert N. Fry, they met with Henry Saperstein, who was the sales agent for Godzilla in the U.S. back in the 60s and 70s. Originally, they were going to negotiate for the rights to a Mr. Magoo movie, but then he said, hey, the rights to Godzilla are available, and that's when Kerry Woods and Robert Fry...
they still made the Mr. Magoo movie at one point.
Yeah. That's still wild.
Their bosses didn't want Godzilla, so they ended up doing... Well... Kerry Woods ended up doing something that is looked down upon in Hollywood. He went over his boss's heads and went straight to the president of Sony himself, Peter Guber. Well, he was the chairman of the board and CEO of Sony Pictures, and he understood it. He got it. He was like, Godzilla, the fire-breathing international brand? Yes, why the fuck not? So it's thanks to the CEO that Godzilla that went to Sony at that time. But some weird things happened. Godzilla got taken away from Kerry Woods and Robert N. Fried, and they were handed to people that didn't even want to do the movie, which is partially to blame why Jan de Bont couldn't do his version, because he was always fighting with the Sony executives over the budget.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of what I read too, is that a lot of it was the fact, because back then CG was still really, so like by the time 98 rolled around, CG was more prevalent being used in movies, but back then like that shit was crazy expensive and risky.
Yeah, back then they still balanced CGI and practical effects.
Yeah, like there still would have been plenty of practical effects, but I feel like it would have been, that's another thing that I found would have been interesting, like how would have that held up nowadays too? Because I mean there's plenty of, like I was saying, I shouldn't say that too. Like, because I say Jurassic fucking Park exists,
right?
So, but like, would they have had like ILM ass fucking magic?
I would say
on their side.
It's probably. I
feel like they should have been must have. They would have.
I feel like it's probably would have been as good as either Independence Day or Godzilla '98. Where
because like the special effects again, some of them like the color grading needs some work, but I feel like David, you could fix that in a heartbeat. But like. overall, it doesn't look terrible.
No, I mean,
still.
then again, like, I feel like it helps Godzilla tremendously, the fact that it's always raining, it's always dark and cloudy, which gives a perfect excuse for Godzilla to look wet and shiny.
And also the more practical sets do a lot of the heavy lifting. Like,
Yes.
even when he's stomping through the city street and every single car is shaking violently, and like everything in the restaurants rocking back and forth. Micro side tangent. That's the bullshit I so miss about old Godzilla movies. When he's coming by, remember how like it's obviously when he's there, the ground stops shaking, but like that, I remember that was like the thing, like one of the trademark things of like, oh shit, he's here, when like the whole fucking block would like shake and shit.
Yeah.
That's the thing, like I feel like we don't get anymore in any of these films.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the whole build up to like him like stomping into town. You're like, oh shit.
Oh, for sure.
Or like in the show, in like the later show era movies, when Godzilla arrived, like the water would bubble and explode before it popped out.
Yeah.
Like that's still one of my favorite weird Godzilla tropes. That like I feel like it's only done in I think from Gigan and up, where he kind of is like the and the few actually, and then later it comes back in the Heisei series, but like just the whole like water shimmering and then it bursting open, like that was one of my favorite things. Or seeing the sonar like pick them up.
Oh yeah.
That shit always got me hype.
Or like even with 2014 with the water flooding into Hawaii before Godzilla shows up.
Yeah. So and again, with Godzilla 94, I feel like we would have had like some of those real iconic like staples of like him as a character via that, like his arrival. Hmm. Now, actually, David, do you think they would have made their own Godzilla theme, or do you think they would have like done something like Godzilla 2000 for the American cut did, where they kind of like rearranged the initial theme and then did their own music? Do you think they would have had any of that? Because Godzilla 98 for sure didn't have any of that.
Yeah, knowing that Jan de Bont is a Godzilla fan, I'm pretty sure he would have made the effort to remake the theme in the same way that Bear McCreary did it for Legendary's King of the Monster. So I feel like, the Godzilla theme probably...
And the American cut of Godzilla 2000 also has it.
And J. Peter Robinson's rendition of that in 2000.
Which I really like.
Funny thing you mentioned the soundtrack, because one of the things that I remember about Godzilla 98 is that soundtrack from the bands at that time, like Rage Against the Machine and Puff Daddy.
and Jimmy Page.
Jimmy Page. The two real monsters of the movie.
And I think it's not Soundgarden, but they do a cover of Heroes by David Bowie. Like that's in the soundtrack.
Bob Dylan's son.
Yeah,
I have a funny feeling that some of these songs would have ended up in Jan de Bont's version anyway, because
I don't because I was a child when I was coming, so I don't I have no remembrance of the soundtrack to Godzilla 98 at all. Because the movie had its own like score. Which actually isn't bad.
Right, yeah.
I don't know if you guys do this. I did this as a kid, but I would always continue watching the movie even during the end credits, and just sometimes to see what's at the end, but also to listen to the music.
I would do that too.
I did that a lot with Godzilla 98. I listened to the songs that were attached to the end credits.
Yeah, no, I did that a few times as a kid, because there were certain songs that you'd hear during scenes. So I was like, oh, what's that song? And then on the end credits, you'd hear the full thing.
Yeah. At one point, I even got the CD for Godzilla 98, but I found that at a thrift store, so that was like $3 on my end when I was a kid.
You know what has weird uncredited movie music? The American songs at the end of Pokemon movies. Those are wacky.
I was just thinking about this the other day.
Because they're like weird like time life romantic like ballads. It's like we saw a fun Pokemon adventure, and it's like this love ballad. It's like, what?
Not just Pokemon. You guys remember Digimon the movie? They also added American. That's a whole other can of worms, sir. That's a whole other thing. But that's the thing that's nuts. Speaking of sequels, we'll move on to mine here, because we're actually running on a lot longer than I thought. But this is good. Let's see. The one I had as my second one was the Lost Project for, again, another sequel, but this one's to Godzilla 2000, called Godzilla Reborn. Y'all remember this one?
Godzilla Reborn.
I remember reading the article. I don't remember any footage from the movie.
I mean, it doesn't happen. It was never. It was proposed. It was basically a sequel and like almost an American-made sequel to Godzilla 2000.
Oh wait, no. Now I remember this one. Yeah.
Yeah, you should know because our dear old friend Steve Rifle wrote this article.
Steve Rifle's not. Oh yeah. That's right. Yeah.
I mean, we're calling him my friend because we reference his work quite a bit.
And I actually got to interview him once.
I mean, he's a cool dude. He's like a staple in our. So
he's one of the best dudes.
Got to give the man his due, but yes.
By Godzilla, the first 70 years, ladies and gentlemen.
Shut up! I'm kidding. What is it? But yeah, so Godzilla Reborn. I'll kind of give the long short of it. So basically, because once again, they were banking on Godzilla 2000 doing well because like almost out of spite for Godzilla 98 being poorly received. But unfortunately, Godzilla 2000 also didn't do well here.
Right.
And so essentially, it was just like a self-produced sequel, almost like the commissioned sequel to Big O that happened in the States that we got, where essentially they would have just used the Godzilla 2000 assets and then just pitted against a new monster. From what I remember, it's like some weird like lava bat or some weird like monster. Bruce Campbell was supposedly attached to the project. Mm-hmm. It would have been fucking wacky. But it just seemed very interesting that it was it was a American-made Godzilla movie, but using like Japanese Godzilla in it, which I thought was very interesting too. The fact that it would have been like a commissioned piece essentially from America as a sequel, like because it did so well that we wanted our own addition to it. Like I said, much like how season 2 of the Big O was commissioned by Adult Swim to make.
Yeah, that is pretty wild. It's rare when this sort of thing happens, but when it does, it
did better here, or if it were to do better here, we wanted it. Where Japan was like, okay, we didn't need another one, but
right, yeah, it's almost kind of like comparable to say like the Ju 2 footage from Mighty
Morphin
Power Rangers.
Yeah, same kind of concept where we were like, hey, this is good, you got that stuff. And again, the only thing I can draw a parallel to it is actually I should have made this my other thing, but the volcano monsters.
Oh
if that would have happened, which was, again, repurposing Godzilla suits. Actually, I'll make that my third one just because I didn't actually have a official third one. So I'll tie them in together. But since they're very parallel, where it was not so much a sequel to, Godzilla Raids Again, but it was basically like, hey, what if we just made Godzilla Raids Again set here? They basically did the American version of Godzilla 2 Raids Again, but made it an entirely original movie where it's not even like a guy in Japan, experiencing the Godzilla story firsthand. It's more like, what if just these type of monsters showed up here? But instead of established characters like Godzilla and the newly introduced Anguirus, what if it just was a Tyrannosaurus and a Ankylosaurus duking it out, but they just so happen to look like Godzilla and Anguirus?
Yes, absolutely.
which I thought was funny. Again, the conceit that Godzilla's not like a big dinosaur like, a la Last Dinosaur where it's just a giant Tyrannosaurus. No, it is the Godzilla suit. And they're like, that's a Tyrannosaurus. and that thing's, again, fighting with Anguirus, who, to be fair, that one people could buy more just because it's like, we've never seen that guy before.
Gigantus.
Yeah, and Gigantus, the fire monster and shit. But that was the whole thing because that would have just been, because that was just the volcano monsters. Gigantus the fire monsters was like the second attempt at trying to do that. And then they're just like, well, we're just going to, since we can't make a whole original movie, we're just going to kind of fuck with this one in like the sloppiest way possible. But I found it very interesting as, again, a companion piece if it were to exist, which I still wish it existed, would have it unaffect the Godzilla series as a whole. But have it be a weird footnote of Godzilla media where it's like, remember this weird thing they did?
Because Joe Dante was interested in directing this project.
Oh yeah, what, Godzilla Reborn?
Yeah.
Yeah, again, it would have been very cool. It was just interesting of what he would have fought. They described it as some type of
Rodan-like monster called Amoeba.
Yeah, and it would look like a giant bat or something like that. It was made of lava.
That would have been cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it definitely would have been very interesting. Again, and also to wonder if because again they're using stuff from Toho, the fact that it would have been an American produced Suitmation monster movie, where that's totally not our thing.
Yeah, it probably would have been a Japanese-American co-production, which would have been cool. You got the resources of both Sony and Toho to produce this.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like that's why I felt like it would have been very cool. I feel like it would have been what Yongari wanted to be.
Yes, which came out around that same time.
Because again, that the whole rework of that whole thing was like, well, this movie can never be kind of shown ever for like historical and legal purposes. So we're gonna build a marketable version of it around this pre-existing film, where it's like we have a whole American story, literally filmed original, like, but with the sanction of like the people who made it. Doing it. So it's like the same thing where it's basically we're using their assets, their story, but we just, catered to an American audience by having those people in it. So it would have been the same kind of deal, but again, it would have been its whole original story, but, Suitmation Godzilla would have been there. Satsu, not Satsuma, Kitagawa would have been in that joint. So again, and that also, again, would have changed, I feel like could have changed the trajectory of where Godzilla in the Millennium series would have gone, because like, had this had happened, would we again get Megaguirus? Would we get GMK? Like, would we get Final Wars? Like, would that even happen? Who knows? So it's very weird to look at the Godzilla timeline and see weird endpoints of where the Godzilla series just could have just hard stopped forever.
I think it would have depended how Reborn would have done at the box office, because
that's also dependent on if 2000 did well, which it did all right, but didn't do good.
Yeah, apparently,
Volcano monsters too.
The budget for this one probably would have been $20 million, which is not the same, but are fairly close to how Godzilla -1. That movie's budget came to be. Like, it's just $10 million short, but it was up there, which is kind of a contrast to movies nowadays, because a bunch of them are made for like between $100 and $250 million.
We also got to imagine half of that shit is paid to these actors who get like gillion dollars.
From what I understand, is that most of these movies do not need that big of a budget anyway, because
of course
they
not.
overspend on lavish shit that these movie stars do not fucking need.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's so much wasted space and time at things that it's like you didn't need all that. Stop it. But then that's contrast with
get some help.
The shit they made like again in the 90s and 80s, where it's like you built this elaborate giant thing for 2 seconds of screen time. It's crazy. It's fucking insanity. Like, what is it? I'm pretty like in Godzilla, there's a scene where I think it's running, but I think it's a whole giant, like, not to scale, but like I think it's like a 1/60th scale or some shit, where it's like as big as your house, side of a like fake side of like three skyscrapers that for one scene just gets sliced. It's like they built that for months just to go and that's it. Like, that's crazy. And you wouldn't even know what happened, because like it's like, oh, that looked like a CG effect. Like, no, man, that was all real. That was like hours of work. So, but these are on like even smaller, like big budgets for the time, but like comparatively small budgets. So it's like, again, the amount of work that goes into something that with the money they had compared to having too much money and doing nothing with it.
Yeah.
Fucking hate it. Fucking hate it.
A $20 million movie is kind of sort of a godsend for. Well, it should be treated as a godsend to these Hollywood studios, because it's expensive but not too expensive, so the risk of it flopping is wouldn't be as bad.
Well, it's also like how like again, and also a thing that I miss too. Like, I feel like the advertising of a lot of this shit is not as cool as it used to be. But also because the landscape of advertisement has changed entirely.
I mean, the entirety of the movie industry has like changed ridiculously. Like,
we're still gonna get like the tie-in like Godzilla burger meal. Like, we're still gonna have that dumb bullshit. But like, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it was not sold to us as often, because like you would still find out about it through like a Facebook ad. But back then it's like you couldn't just pop on your phone or thing. It would be like on television in the movie theater that you would see these giant like budget like $1 million productions to be like, buy the new Godzilla brand Pepsi,
Mm-hmm.
Like, but like that's what I'm saying. Like, it's this whole thing just to be like, yeah, Godzilla's like on the can of Coke or Pepsi today. nowadays it'd just be like, you just see a Facebook guy where some like guy's like, oh dude, I got a Godzilla drink. And that's it. Like, it's like a TikTok. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's how it had been sold to you now. But back then it was like a movie, a small movie you'd watch to just be like, hey man, you can wear Godzilla underpants. Fucking enjoy. Like, like it was just so much more wild, wackadoo shit that went into just like, you know, fucking. Like, oh, actually, you know, the Doritos Godzilla commercial when they had him like eat the thing of Doritos.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah,
it was just a repurposed thing from NDA, but still, again, that was like a $1 million CGI effect for the time. Picking up a fucking bag of Doritos and eating them, like you wouldn't see that now. I feel like I can't think of any like Avengers Endgame ads where it's like Thanos kicking down the door of an IHOP and being like, I'll have the fucking double stacked pancakes, please, and then snaps them all out of existence. You're like, we didn't get any cool shit like that.
Remember we had the Godzilla 2014 Fiat commercial? Yeah. He's craving Italian.
But that's what I'm saying, like crazy bullshit like that. Like that's also what I would have actually the last thing I'll say to kind of tie my two things into a knot too about like the impact a lot of this stuff would have is again like the marketing of that, then the whole idea of just like where you would have seen this, like, you know, how you would have heard about it, word of mouth. And again, I think we even brought up before, like the merchandising of all this stuff too, where it would have been like in your brain forever, where you would see these, again, like movie quality production commercials for something very inane, but be like, yo, do you remember seeing that shit, you know, on television to buy? Because that's what was me and my friends as a kid. Like, we would like act out commercials we saw on TV when we were kids because they were so crazy and like cinematic that it would be like a whole like thing. So the idea of like doing that for like these unmade movies, I always thought was cool. Like, what would the advertising campaign, what would that have affected me as a Godzilla fan as a kid? Because Godzilla '98, despite what people may think, that game got me a lot of access to a lot of Godzilla media I didn't know existed up until that point.
That is very true. It is like, I feel like a lot of people have forgotten just like how big Godzilla '98 was hype-wise, to the point where it allowed so much Godzilla shit to come out during that time. I remember,
I think it was the summer when I first moved to the house I grew up in when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
I remember when we first went to the Hollywood Video near me, it was around '98 around that time. They had this massive wall with all their Godzilla movies they had in total, all on the wall, some Gamera films too, but it's like, I'd never seen that many Godzilla, because I would go to the store with my dad when I was little, like to pick up a tape or two, but that was the first time I saw that many Godzilla movies of some movies I'd never even heard of yet. Because, again, a Godzilla movie was coming out, so they're like, hey, we're going to pull out all the stops, pull stuff from the back shelves, you know, and that's how a lot of people I know became Godzilla fans, because they heard about it because a big Godzilla movie was coming out. They still kind of do that now, but, like, not to the degree that I think they should nowadays when one's coming out, where it's like, let's reintroduce the fandom to Godzilla. I think because that's what they do every time now. Mm-hmm. But back then, I feel like it was something real special because, again, much like, because we didn't get the Japanese movies yet. So, like, it was 1985. That's it for like a decade or more. So then it's like, boom, all these things you never even knew about, kid. Develop a hyperfixation on for the rest of your goddamn life. Because I was already hooked, but like, the joy on my face and the horror in my dad's eyes when we entered that Hollywood Video, I could fucking power a sun with that energy. Like the two like they were like, we literally could create dark matter. There was such polar opposite energy coming off of that, where I was so excited, and my dad was like, oh no, no.
He's become a Godzilla fan.
I mean, I already was, but he was just like again, like any good parent.
Look how they massacred my boy.
Like any good parent, they're like, well, he'll grow up. He'll grow out of this.
It'll be a phase.
I mean, I distinctly remember my dad at certain points would be like, hey man, there's a little more life Godzilla. It's like, au contraire, father. Look where my life has led me now. I mean, he's come to like Godzilla and stuff like that new, but like, you know, back then, obviously, because he's my dad, he just wanted me to be like a good kid and shit. But like, it is funny now contrasting to all the stuff I've done, where it's like I've now met the Godzilla the suit actors, I've met Ultraman, and I'm like, again, as mentioned before, I am now part of a official Kamen Rider production.
Hell yeah!
So if I met the man in the Kamen Rider, that's like my great white whale right now. Hopefully, that happens before, he goes bye-bye. But, like, still, it's just funny how, like, again, these, especially during the 90s when we were growing up, the fact that these, like, big moments were just so impactful because there was no preceding it. There was nothing preceding it. There was no revival prior to this. Mm-hmm. This was the first time in a very long time, as opposed to nowadays where it's like, well, no, that Godzilla movie came out 3 years ago, 10 years ago. Like, there's always been a new Godzilla thing in recent memory enough where it's like, oh no, this is not a thing that went away for a long time and now is back. It's always been around now, which I'm happy with. Of course I'm happy with it, but like there was something special about it, just suddenly not being around to being everywhere.
Yeah.
More so than it is now. Like, again, much like the Pokemania, things like that, it was like there was a day where there was not, and now it's everywhere.
Yes.
So that was super cool.
Yeah. Let's see.
It's your final one, because
yes.
I did my final one.
Oh, yeah. So for my final one...
Because it's getting late, baby. It's
yeah. I feel like we can easily do like a second volume of this at another time.
Yeah, we can.
So
in 2 years.
Yeah, when we're rolling deep in podcast land.
So for the last one that I want to cover, this is one that I feel most likely had no chance in hell of ever getting made, but it's such a really cool concept that I feel like I had to bring this up, and that is Power Rangers Hexagon. Now, have either of you two either heard of this, which would have been a big crossover, it was essentially a big Power Rangers crossover season where the whole season was going to be based on crossovers while also adapting Hurricaneger, which ultimately became Power Rangers Ninja Storm.
This I've never heard of. The only thing of like would be Power Ranger Project was like the proposed version that eventually became Turbo, a Power Rangers movie.
Mm-hmm.
What was it called? It was like Death Skull Desert or some shit like that.
Interesting. And
yeah, there was a whole like proposed like sequel to the original Power Rangers movie that just never happened.
Ah, okay. That I have not heard of. What about you, David? Have you heard of Hexagon?
I have not, but I'm pretty sure the U.S. side of the franchise has like a lot of unrealized projects like Hexagon.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, first off, shout out to Ju 3, which was a proposal where Toei would have provided more diary, like a mix of...
I remember that.
Yeah.
Is that where we've seen the concept, the fan concept art of like their helmets changing to match the animals they are?
Oh, no. This would have been official concept art where they would have where Toei would have redesigned the Dinozords as well as create...
Oh, yes. I actually have that book that has that.
Yeah, and they also introduced a redesigned Wan Tiger to essentially be a version of the Tiger Zord that combined with the new Dino Megazord. Essentially being like, hey, you know what? If you want us to continue doing Megazord original action footage, here's an idea we've got that would incorporate a little bit of Die Ranger footage, Die Ranger concepts in there. At which point they were like, yeah, no, this is too expensive. We're just going to go ahead and just adapt Die Ranger stock footage instead.
More of the same.
Yeah. So, anyways, Power Rangers Hexagon.
They're stupid kids. They'll never tell the difference.
So Power Rangers Hexagon was a concept proposed by Amit Bhaumik. Amit Bhaumik, he wrote a handful of episodes for Power Rangers Wild Force, those specifically being the 2-part crossover with Time Force and Forever Red. And while he was writing Forever Red, he was already putting in bits of... he was already planting the seeds for what would have been Power Rangers Hexagon. Because if you remember from Forever Red, Tommy was already in talks with... already in communication with all of the Red Rangers up to that point. And they even had a secret base where they could all meet up at some military hangar. With
that's what when I was a kid I always thought like they were gonna make, because I remember hearing, I think it was like on early chat boards and stuff, I remember even talking on AIM with my friends that we thought like, for sure there was gonna be like spin-offs of this where we would have like Forever Pink, Forever, like one of the main primary colors for certain Rangers, of like legacy things, like they would do something for like the third Ranger or like an only 6 Ranger thing where most of it would have been Tommy, but like, you know what I'm saying, like
yeah. So
but something like that, like there would have been one for like different iterations or like duos of Rangers.
For sure. So this essentially would have led to a large Power Rangers Shield-like organization, with Tommy Oliver being the Nick Fury of this large organization referred to as Hexagon, where every episode there'll be like a new special guest from a previous season, or like they'll be transported around the world.
Which they did in spades in a handful of seasons.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, I mean, like that's technically what Super Megaforce was supposed to be in theory, but like,
I remember the first time I remember they ever did something like that was in the In Space season when Rocky came back. Not Rocky, where Adam came back.
Adam came back. Yeah,
and it was like the first time since that show came out that we like, the Mighty Morphin Black Rangers here.
Right.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, and so, what was it? So for this season, it would have had Tommy Oliver becoming the mentor for a new generation of Rangers who would have been adapted from Hurricaneger. And
which is so interesting, which kind of would have worked, because like I would have preferred him over the Hamster Man.
Yeah.
Even though it wasn't that... that
was the Green Ranger's dad.
No. I know who it was. I'm saying, like, I'm trying to think. One of them, because that wasn't in the Sentai. I know something in the Sentai had something very equally dumb.
Okay. Let's see. And yeah, they essentially would have just gone on adventures, again, teaming ups with a lot of past Rangers. And eventually they would introduce what we know today as the Thunder Rangers. You would have introduced this like form of anti-heroes, these rivals to the Hexagon Rangers, led by Jason. Jason was shown to be somewhat of like a distant traveler, or like some sort of like a rogue, sort of like does what he wants and isn't following anyone's rules type of characterization.
Isn't that what they ended up the Thunder Rangers? Isn't that what they ended up renaming like the Die Rangers in Megaforce? Or am I thinking of a different thing?
Oh no, they're a different. Well, I believe it's been a long time since I've seen Ninja Storm, but
no. Megaforce, when the Die Rangers show up, don't they call them the Thunder Rangers?
Oh no, they're called the Squadron Rangers.
That's right. I think. Oh, you know what it is? It's before it was officially adapted. I remember the fan name for that was calling them the Thunder. Like that's what people proposed their name was gonna be.
Oh, because the Thunder Zords. Okay, that makes sense.
That's what I remember. People were gonna call them the Thunder Rangers.
Right. But no, they're called.
Which because like again they always like because it would always like that Thunder Zord.
Yeah, it makes more sense, but Saban the writers ultimately went with Squadron Rangers because haha Squadron Sentai, you get it.
But there was still no Ninja Rangers because technically they just stopped being Thunder Rangers and just had ninja powers.
Yes.
and the Alien Rangers were still... Which is weird that they called themselves aliens, not Aquatarian Rangers, but I digress.
Yeah. So anyways...
What about Prince Dex? He's fucking canon there. Fucking sorry. I'll stop.
So yeah, the Thunder Rangers would have been introduced as a rival group of Rangers led by Jason, and so... Apparently, Ahmed had an idea of presenting Jason as this sort of roguish, wild card type of character.
Which is crazy for his character because he moved from... Because again, after he was the Red Ranger, he was the Gold Ranger, and then like he's kind of aloof when they find him later in Forever Red. So it's like, what life did he lead after him being a Power Ranger? It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm trying to look up the part here where he's talking about Jason because here we go. It was hinted in Forever Red that Jason had spent the years since we had last seen him on the outskirts of society, riding his Harley alone and getting into his own adventures. As noted, when he returned in Zeo, he was walking across the desert wearing a duster, shades, and a bandana. Quote,
like the great Saiyaman.
Yeah, looking like someone on the run from the law than an ambassador back from a teen peace conference. In Wild Force, he was remarked to Wes and Eric that he was more familiar with them than some of the other Rangers. Jason was to have been more of a casual, been around the block, big brother type of figure for the, quote, Beetle Rangers, which is what the Thunder Rangers would have been called here, rather than a commander like the Hexagon Rangers had. So yeah, on one hand, you had the more strict, militaristic Tommy and the more laid-back, go-with-the-flow Jason. And Jason pretty much is against the whole idea of recruiting all these Rangers and gathering up as one big collective organization. He's like, nuh-uh, I ain't about that. We need to let these Rangers, do their own thing. And that leads to a civil war by the end, where certain Rangers team up with Tommy and certain Rangers team up with Jason. And also proposed was giving the Beetle Rangers a third member, because if you remember, you had for the Ninja Storm
in the form of a Beetle Borg.
We had for the primary Hurricanegers, we had red, blue, yellow, and for the what we call
maroon. It was like maroon and navy blue.
Yeah, you had a dark red, a dark blue, but no dark yellow. And Amit was proposing...
Because that would have looked gross.
Yeah, a mustard color, yeah.
Yeah, that would look like baby shit.
Although, here's the funny thing. Amit was proposing
They could have done like purple.
I guess so, yeah. Or gold. Gold works as a dark yellow.
Or just black, so he actually looks like a ninja.
Yeah, but Amit was proposing a third...
Which is me!
Amit was proposing a third Beetle Ranger to mirror that of the primary Rangers. So you got 3 and 3. And here's the thing. In Akiba Ranger, they would create a yellow Ranger to go with the dark red and dark blue. I'll look for an image in a sec here. But it's funny that he's proposing something that that Toei would end up doing in their own parody series. Because
they definitely would have been something big.
Yeah.
Bad. Possibly Beetle. But it could have been a Borg.
Or Bros, I don't know.
No.
Let's see. Shout out to Big Bad Beetle Bros, the podcast out there.
And then they would have gone metallics.
So anyways, at the end of the day, I believe Jason... Tommy, ultimately, they adapt the Green Ranger from the Green Samurai Ranger from Hurricaneger, and that would have been Tommy coming back as a brand new iteration of the Green Ranger, simply because it's a Green Ranger with a gold shield, and Amit thought it was just too perfect for it not to be a new Tommy suit. And ultimately, by the end, Jason manages to convince Tommy to...
Tommy!
Yeah, exactly. Tommy, come to your senses! You're acting crazy!
That's my impression of it. Is Tommy, stop!
And ultimately, he did get Tommy to stop and ultimately disband Power Rangers Hexagon, opening the path for new Ranger seasons to potentially come. And why did this season never happen? Basically, this was at the point where Saban was ready to sell Power Rangers.
Yeah, this was like because because it wasn't Ninja Storm was like the first Disney series, yeah.
Yes, it was, and so I can imagine
because Wild Force was on the Disney the ABC Disney network, but it was still a Saban era Power Ranger. But it was just on. But I may remember that as a kid. It was Power Rangers was no longer on Fox. It started airing on
ABC Family.
ABC Family, and then it became then Ninja Storm, and that was owned by Disney.
Yeah, and I can imagine at some point Amit was trying to propose this to Disney, and Disney was like, no. And in fact,
we're gonna shoot everything in New Zealand for free.
and also, what was it but even before that, Disney, they didn't even want Power Rangers. They only got it because it came with a package because Digimon was what they really wanted. And,
really?
Yeah, and ultimately they just got...
Well, then again, I think that's probably when they still, for some reason, still thought it could have been the Pokemon color.
Yeah, because, what was it? It was a Digimon Data Squad. I think that was, during the Disney era. And... Don't get
me wrong, folks. I love Digimon, but, come on.
Yeah, after Season 3, nobody cared at that point.
Well, even then, Digimon was doing, gangbusters no matter what, for sure. But, but again, as far as legacy brand of stuff you could tangibly have all the time, every day, Digimon was a much harder thing to come by. Even for me, as someone who liked Digimon, I could throw a rock and hit something with Pokemon on it. I can fucking throw a rock and then find that rock where it landed to find something for Digimon. That's not even a joke. I remember even with because I had Digimon toys, but the only time I got them is when my dad would go to New York City for business trips. I'm not even kidding you. That's the only time I would ever get one because I would specifically say like when you're out there, see if they have any Digimon toys because I never like I had like,
yours in your area,
but I rarely saw them in toy stores for like a hot minute. So it's like fuck, like come on.
So I guess we can blame Disney for dropping the ball on that one.
I mean, maybe. Could be.
But yeah, like during this time, they bought.
It wouldn't have made my parents get a divorce during the movie. That's for sure.
Ooh, I love that reference. What was it?
So kids at home, another piece of homework. Look that up. It's crazy. It's fucking crazy.
Fuck you, Angela Anaconda.
And maybe they would have had a Digimon live stage show like Pokemon did. I was at that.
Oh, really?
I saw that in real life. That's the one thing I can hold above anybody who's ever been in the Pokemon. Is like, well, did you see Pokemon live on stage?
Wait, the one with that Robo Mewtwo thing?
You mean Mecha Mewtwo?
Mecha Mewtwo?
Yeah, its name is Mecha Mewtwo.
Oh, fuck. The one where it's implied Giovanni is Ash's dad?
No. That's not even, no.
Okay.
But there is a song where Misty says she loves Ash, so that's a whole other thing. That made me and my friends fucking go apeshit in the playground.
It's canon, guys.
No, for real. The end of the song, she was like, "I love you, Ash," and we're like, "Ah!" Like it was like Def Jam. Like we went nuts. We're like, she loves him. It's real.
Oh. Well,
Anyways, I think we have one more left. Or
No. I'm just wrapping up here. Disney, they weren't interested in Power Rangers. They only got it because it came with the package deal. And ultimately, they were very close to just be like, dude, just dub the Sentai and we'll get it over with. And
which I thought would have been so cool because there was an episode of Dino Thunder when it did that. I was like, man, I actually would legit watch a whole dubbed Sentai series like this.
Yeah, but ultimately, the production team was able to convince Disney to continue doing Power Rangers the way they've always done it, and Disney was like, okay, but you gotta bring your A game here to convince us to keep this shit going. And honestly, I feel like that ultimately benefited the Disney era of Power Rangers because each season could have potentially have been the last season, so they were always putting their fucking A game first and foremost.
I distinctly remember, this is the thing I'll end, I distinctly remember at my little cousin's house when they were babies and shit, because they had, season passes to Disney. I remember one year they came back and I saw the photos, and there's my little cousin standing with like the Power Rangers at Disney World. I'm like, what? Why? What? Like, and like, I think, it was him and like, I think it was like the the red SPD Ranger and like the white Dino Ranger. I'm like,
nice.
I'd almost have to be like, I'd be like, I would have to talk about it. I'm like, yo, can you dig those pictures? I would need to prove a point.
Yeah. But yeah, unfortunately, Hexagon never happened, but in a world where we have like the comics that are always crossing over a bunch of Rangers, you had I think that Twitch series, I think it was called Hyperforce.
Is that the one where they look like they're wearing like Saiyan armor? Or is that the cartoon one that had Andre in it, Andre Black Nerd in it?
Yeah, that was the one with Andre Black Nerd and Bulk's actor in it as well.
Wasn't it like as far as the only thing I know about it is I think it was a cartoon.
No. It was like a D&D campaign, but with Power Rangers. And they were live streaming it.
Anyways, David, what's yours?
Yeah, Dave, what do you think of Power Rangers?
Andres, you're fired.
Fuck you.
I feel like I still wouldn't have seen it.
Yeah, you're probably not.
Right, because you're a Power Rangers hater, aren't you? Don't worry, I do not blame you.
I love Super Sentai.
I know, it's great, it's awesome.
Yeah,
but wouldn't it be great if you had imagine a season dedicated to original crossover footage? Imagine that, David.
It's 1 o'clock, boys. What's your final pick, David?
Well, under Disney, Power Rangers was taken a little bit seriously, wasn't it? It wasn't.
Like I said, it's a lot of people retroactively consider it the best era of Power Rangers now. Like it brought us RPM, SPD. What was it? Fucking Dino Thunder.
Well, in that case, I probably would have seen it. Probably.
Yeah, at the very least, check out RPM. It's free on Tubi now and
It's
YouTube.
free?
Yeah,
YouTube.
and YouTube officially, and it's nothing like Goanger, so it's pretty much its own thing at that point. It's a post-apocalyptic Power Ranger series, and yes, it's real, and yes, it's good.
And I'm pretty sure that's the one that has the like. And what are you, the Blue Ranger? No, I'm Scottish.
No. It's like, she's the girly one. He's the bad boy.
It is. It's just 1 a.m. and I don't feel like screaming anymore.
And what are you supposed to be? I'm Scottish.
Yeah, that's the one. Anyways.
Yeah.
Let's wrap this up.
Yeah.
Papa's got to go to bed.
Okay. Gorizard, rock us with the shit.
Take us in for a landing, Dad.
What landing? We're crashing and burning.
I just want to wish you,
really
David,
good episode. Don't fuck it up. Stick the landing, homie.
I just want to wish you good luck. We're counting on you.
Boy. Well, I guess that's it.
No, you had one. You had the last one. I know you did.
He did 2. We all did 2.
Yeah, we all did 2. Yeah, so
no, I technically did 3.
Yeah, we're done.
I didn't do 3.
No,
oh yeah. Well, my 2 was my 2 and 3 were both 2.
Yeah.
Because I only mentioned my third one as a second one.
Yeah.
So we all did 2. We had
essentially
screen time. It's Frank's bedtime.
Yes, because unfortunately, like with anybody I've ever worked with in my entire life, in my adult life, they always live on the time zone where it's like 6 in the evening for them, and it's like 3 a.m. for me.
Frank, you got to move to the West Coast.
If my life wasn't going all right, I definitely would.
just stay away from Tornado Alley. You never know when another F5 tornado.
No, that's when that's the best time to go.
No?
That's it. How do you think I'll get home from there? I'll fucking grab a stray gust and fly myself home.
It worked in Super Mario Brothers 3.
Yeah, I'll play a little and I'll fucking. So yeah, final thoughts for just your final sentiment of just the concept and idea of lost projects. We'll all kind of say a little thing or two, and we'll keep it brief.
Well, I guess this is part 1 of what eventually will be a 2-parter.
Yeah, but most likely. Or like we can do like an ongoing series, like over the course of our episodes.
Yeah, I've been taking notes for Ultraman Millennium, and I haven't gotten.
Yeah, because that's actually the one I was hinting at, because I thought you were going to talk about that, but then I realized.
I mean, dude, we could do like a whole episode on fucking Chayo and shit.
Yeah, actually, well, maybe we can pocket that for that episode of just like the fuck. Why is Ultraman fighting the transforming dinosaurs, and why is he evil with abs? That and more to find out next time. But what are your final thoughts on just the idea of like these what if projects? What is your final thoughts and takeaway of?
I feel like we were robbed of Godzilla 94. Every time I watch Jurassic Park or Godzilla 98, I'm reminded of what
could have been in between.
What
was in between,
and what was in between? What could have happened? The toys we could have gotten, the video games we could have happened.
I'm very much in the same book bank with you. I think I even said it in our first episode about Power Rangers. Like, what if like Mass Rider did well? Like, would we have had like a kick-ass side scroller beat 'em up because of that? Like, just the things that we would have got, or again, the legacy brand recognition from these films. If again they would have done well, like what the approach, or even like what that would have done to just monster movies in general as a whole, if that one film did well, when there was no giant monster movies being fucking made at that time.
And I like to call it the Boggon effect, where because these things do not exist, there's no certainty that it would have been really bad, but really good. But at the same time,
that's what I'm saying.
There's no certainty it could have been bad. So it's like
there's so many times where this could have been the end, the complete and utter end of Godzilla, or things we like,
or like this could have
been done so bad.
It could have been the worst thing in the world, but it could also have been potentially the greatest thing in the world. And I think that's
even through failure again came success, because because of '98. Even though, say what you will about it, but it made a lot of Godzilla fans. It spurred on the creation of Godzilla 2000 out of spite. But like it did a lot for the brand, and then just reignited the flame with the idea for like a marketable monster movie. We're just like, hey, That could work.
Oh yeah, but I'm saying like the point I'm trying to make here is that because it doesn't exist, because there's so much we don't know, it lets our imaginations run wild with the possibilities. Hence the comparison to the unmade Godzilla monster Bagan. You know, so there are so many fans of Bagan for years.
I'm one of them
because it was the monster that never got made. It was, you know, the one that got away, and so people.
Dude, I cannot tell you. Like the fucking like mind melt I had when the Bandai movie monster series of Bagan was announced. Like I lost my actual mind. Like I almost called my friend. I was like, "You cannot believe what just got like." Just because
and
I was on
specific design that
I was on the fucking the GeoCities fan website for like the countdown from when that movie was going to come out. Like,
yeah,
it was real, dude. It was real.
So yeah, I think like that's always really cool about the what ifs, you know, and I love to see, you know, all sorts of fan art and fan projects and all these like sort of like fan made concepts that came out inspired by these what if ideas and concepts that never came to be. And so yeah, whether it is Godzilla, Power Rangers, Kamen Rider, or more, it's so interesting that Tokusatsu has so many more of these sort of concepts that we can always come back to again and again and just further speculate on how these things would have come out, how they would have turned out, and how they would have affected the broader landscape of things. And so yeah, that's pretty much what I got to say.
Well, yeah, Anders brought us in for the soft landing as always.
No, you got to close that still, puppy.
I just want to wish you good luck, and we're counting on you.
Anders already did it. He brought us the softest.
No, because it's your episode. You gotta end it.
I just want to wish you good luck, and we're counting on you.
You brought this episode into this world. You got to take it out.
But Anders raised it for me.
No. Yeah. No walking away from this one, baby.
I'd like to call in some help.
You already used it. This ain't the fucking Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Yeah, no. I'll give you a hint. You're gonna ask us what our plugs are.
What your plugs are? Oh, what are your plugs?
Who are you talking to?
Yeah, who are you addressing?
Either or. All right, Hunter, since you got seniority, what are your butt plugs?
You can find me over on.
I can't trust him.
You can. How do you think I feel after 10 fucking years of this bullshit? You can always find me. You can find me on Instagram and find me on Instagram and Blue Sky under Kaiju Noir, much like here on YouTube. You can find me on Twitter at PW_Draco Azul and find me on Facebook at Primal Warrior Draco Azul. You can also find me over at Creature Preachers /Tokucades table at Kaiju Brooklyn. Hopefully this episode will be coming out the weekend before Kaiju Brooklyn. Who knows? Maybe we might talk.
We might do something. Might do a little live stream while we're
maybe. Who knows? You know.
But I mean, we're gonna do that because I will be in your face and I'm taller than you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. In that case,
you're about to be like, you're about to say, you're like, wait, he's right.
Well, in that case, where can people find said live stream at Kaiju Brooklyn, Frank?
In your bedroom.
I don't think I like that.
Good. Anyways,
it's not even going to be my bedroom.
I know. So, anyways, you can find me at my cosplay Instagram at 8armed Spidey. That's number 8 ARMED SPIDEY. Recent projects include me being part of a really, really fun big Dragon Ball Z collab with a bunch of awesome Dragon Ball Z cosplayers. So go check that out. That was headed up by my friend King Benjamin. Or Benji Banks, as he sometimes likes to be called, but he put this awesome collab together with a bunch of other DBZ cosplayers out there. So check that out if you like. Support those other folks. We had a blast doing it. But more importantly, speaking of cosplay, you can find me cosplaying at Kaiju Brooklyn. I'm going to be there in the flesh, in the spandex, whatever you want to find me in. I will be there alongside one Kaiju Noir, Andres Perez. We will be there live and in person and we will figure out how to do some type of either live stream, live hang, something like that, you know, for you guys who want to join us, because we love having you guys during our 2 impromptu live streams. So why not do this one as a Kaiju Brooklyn Live from the Kaiju Caballeros, making our public debut, I must say.
Woohoo!
So if you're going to be for there, again, David sadly will not be there, but we'll definitely pick up something fun while we're out there. But that's where you can find us literally next week.
Absolutely. So you can find us over at Industrial City in Brooklyn of New York. Be there, be square. It's going to be for 2 days. I believe May 31st and June 1st. And our table will be next to TJ Storm's in the Artist Alley. I will be selling my comics.
Actually, it's May 30th and 31st.
Thank you very much. 30th and 31st.
Don't want people showing up on Monday.
Yes. So we will be there, and I will be selling my comics. I'll be selling books. I'll be selling
Issue 3.
Issue 3, especially. That's the most important one. And you'll be also we'll be selling copies of Davis's books, Titania's books. We'll be selling book 1 and a special special Kaiju Brooklyn variant of the book 2. And
maybe if we're super lucky, maybe there might be a teensy tiny Kaiju Caballeros business card.
Maybe. Who knows? Potentially.
Maybe. Again, no promises, but we might have a little something. It might not even be for public consumption, but it might be there for you to see.
For sure. So anyways, we hope to see you there at Kaiju Brooklyn. Please support us if you can when you're there.
Yes. Support the official release.
Yeah, support the official release. And, just stop by and say hi and just let us know if you've seen the podcast or not and what do you think of it.
I'm super excited. Actually, not even a big shout out, but I'm actually exciting thing that's going to happen to me there. I'm going to meet one of my oldest online friends, Anthony, there, who I've known on YouTube for 20 years. Isn't that crazy? That's the longest I've ever known anyone and have never met them in my life. That's nuts.
Even I've met Andres.
This is crazy. And also I thanks to him, that's why I know about Kaneko-man and Fist of the North Stars, because I am. So, because out of nowhere, I think he saw me comment on like a YouTube video from one of those, and then hit me up and be like, "Oh, hey, like if you like this, here's where you can find like the manga." Back when you had to go like deep dark web to find manga, but like he was one of the first dudes who like told me about a lot of cool old anime. So like, shout out to him. I can't wait to see you at Kaiju Brooklyn, dude. It's been too long. Anyways,
where can people find you, David?
Yeah, remember?
Well, they can find me at Gorizard on YouTube, but it's stagnant.
I mean, no, you just put out something, didn't you?
Yeah, didn't you do a comparison?
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you just did that.
It happen every couple of months.
Yeah, but still, plug them.
Yeah, advertise it. You recently did a restoration, didn't you?
Oh my, dude, you're doing like the coolest shit. We want to know about it because we love you. God damn it, you fucking dummy.
I was interested. I just put out the.
Look how embarrassed he's getting.
I just put out the Dimension 4K on Internet Archive.
There we go. How hard is that?
Ladies and gentlemen of America, look how humble this motherfucker. Do you see what happens? He's this big. He acts like this big fucking dorky little macho man, but then when he talks about the thing he does, he gets all quiet and shy. Look at it. It's adorable.
The lies.
No, but it's really cool stuff. And again, it's like I often will forward this shit to my friend and be like, it's like, no, this is the thing. Stuff I'm talking about that I cannot articulate. This guy does what I think about in my brain constantly. It's like, man, how could this be improved? And then he does it.
And then he doesn't fucking talk about it for some reason.
Well, but also, no snitching. He didn't do it, Toho. He didn't do nothing.
I don't know nothing.
But if you want like the kaiju equivalent of what the Seed of Might is doing, this dude's your dude.
Fuck yeah.
If you know anything about Seed of Might, holy shit.
Holy shit. I've seen their work too yet. But yeah, I just put out the
basically they're doing what you do, but for Dragon Ball Z. So like, yeah, like
I just put out the I just synced the English dub for Daimajin.
I just synced it.
See, look at this psychopath. Like that's a lot of work.
Yeah, you can find it on Internet Archive. It's under several tags: Daimajin, Godzilla 4K, Gamma 4K. It's easy to find. Yeah, it's easy to find. Please, take it for what it is. This dude put a lot of hard work in it, and also it's like, yo, man, if they're gonna phase out physical media, this dude's keeping it alive and keeping it high quality. So you can trust that. But this has been the Kaiju Caballeros. David, say something important.
You blew it, Andres.
I just want to wish you good luck, and we're counting on you.
You said that 3 other times. You're gonna have to cut one of them out.
No, keep them all in. And I, wait, were you talking to Frank or me?
We'll fix it in post.
We'll do it live. Fucking, we'll do it live.
And cut.
I just want to wish you good luck, and we're counting on you.
Boy, wait, are we still recording?